So,
Uh,
Joe, you were just talking about a book.
yeah, I was talking about a book called Levels of Energy,
Mm.
and it's um, it's kind of one of those that's like kind of metaphysical, very kind of could be pushed off as like kind of woo woo if you want to call it that.
Oh, so my kind of book.
Yeah. But the reason I liked it is because there's so many, right in the beginning of the book, he talks about how many different religions and spiritualities and different like cultures follow the same these levels of energy. So like the like full enlightenment, like Christ or Buddha or whatever, is level 1000. So everything comes down from there, and then he would explain like when people start to see the shadow people like on meth or things like that, when they've gotten in a really bad place, is because you're actually seeing negative zero. You're seeing
I
like
just heard about that recently. So people on like shadow people. What the fuck? What is that?
yeah, so like because what he was explaining in the book, he says when you like say you smoke crack. Okay, crack makes you experience level 1000 for a little bit, but then
Mm.
you come crashing back down to like below where you're normally at.
Hmm.
So what he was saying is like most of society averages around a 225, 250.
This like Dave? Is it David Hawkins or Stephen Hawkins? The law is it power versus force or something like that? That talks about the going from shame and whatever up to Christ consciousness.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that, but
I think we're talking about the same thing. It's just
yeah, it
levels
wasn't
of
it
force.
didn't sound like that was in the book, but he said like highly intelligent people, like highly educated people, run in like the 5 to 600 range. So
Highly
like
intelligent people
or
run
like
five.
educated or like not necessarily academically educated, but um, trying to think. It's been a while since I listened to that book. How he exactly explained like the different like levels and stuff. Um, but yeah, so following that, so like you said, like witnessing the birth of a child lets you experience enlightenment for like a few minutes, like while it's happening. And to me, I feel like experiencing being in the room when someone dies is the same experience because there's no like it's like opening the veil to allow creation in or creation out.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell people when they're like grieving, like there's a actually let me back up a second because there was a post. It was on Facebook I saw and I saved it because it was from a hospice nurse and she was talking about like what do you do during an expected death, right? You know the person's dying, you're at their bedside, you're just waiting for them to pass, or waiting for them to die. What do you do after they die? And she's like, nothing. She goes, go make a cup of tea and just sit with them, sit with the energy for a while because
Mm.
like at that point there's a hole, there's a giant hole in the veil. There's no protection from your own grief. There's no protection from your emotions. Nothing happens to the body really for almost 3 days. So you don't need rushed away. And we're so bothered by the death thing that we whisk people away right away. Instead of like, back in the day, we just have a funeral on your kitchen table and people come through your house and like see that person's body on your kitchen table.
Yeah, death is such a weird thing that we don't. It's like we push old people away into homes, especially in the Western culture. We don't want to see aging, end of life stuff, and death is like something that's kept away from us. Like my grandmother died, and everything's so like cleansed
I
and
call it it's
not excessive.
sanitized.
Sanitized, that's a word, yeah.
Sanitized. It's just stripped away. There's nothing left of it. There's no we Reed and I would say like when we were coming leaving from Death Cafe, and we can go into that in a second. Um, we'd come back from there, and that's something we always say is like humanity is so sterilized, not sanitized, sterilized.
Hmm.
It's very sterilized. We can't talk about bodily fluids. We can't talk about gross things. We can't talk about death. We can't talk about like menstruation. We can't talk about all these things that are like completely normal functions of the human existence because it's supposed to
What
be.
is normal, dude? Normal, the more I learn about normal, I mean, you think about standard American or go and get your labs done, and you're comparing it to the average American. Like, I don't want to be standard or average or normal. I think normal is sick and like conditioned, and that way of being is dying.
Oh,
It's
it's totally dying. It can't hold on. It's not going to hold on much longer. Like that's what you're watching. You're watching the crumble. I mean, it's like falling apart right now.
here. I'm gonna show you this thing real quick, if I can find it. Uh, this is the get back out of this. I'm trying to be cool and pull up my computer screen, and it's not working for me now.
A little share screen. Show
Yeah.
me something.
Let me see if I can try one more time.
So, do you have a slam ball?
In the gym, I do. I'm not going to do it. It was just it's
Okay.
David Hawkins and his levels of consciousness. But
Okay. It's probably the same. It's probably a very similar thing because it's that
yeah,
that's what he said in the book. There's like a lot of different ways it's been described, and it follows the same like number system and everything.
hmm
So like that's why I gave it some more credit because he wasn't saying mine is the end all be all. This is the thing, and if this is it.
yeah.
Right? He was very open about like this isn't my identity thing. This isn't my like scale. Like this is something I've been following. This is something that like many cultures follow it the same way. So
I like that too, and I think that like lack of grippiness with is something of being right, the need to be right and defend my point and say everything else is wrong. That's something I learned from Irene, her husband Seth. Um, he kind of clued me into like what's going on in the world, and then came back to the point of I don't know if this is right. This is my version, and I've tried to hold very loosely to it and share how I feel without making it an identity, an ego thing.
well, that's why I always held on to the quote like when I'm working with my clients and stuff. I've said it to a few people in the last few days actually that have helped me or whatever. And it's a good teacher will show you where to look, but not what to see.
hmm
And that's that
Yeah.
same like what you're talking about. I'm gonna hand you a book. I'm not gonna tell you what's in the book. I'm not gonna tell you what to take from the book.
hmm
But I'm gonna hand you the book, or I'm gonna send you a video. Hey, check this 10-minute video out.
Yeah.
Right? And like I think it might resonate with you, and that's all I know is that I think it might, based on our conversation, based on whatever, like, hey, check this out. This might help you. But I'm not saying listen to this because it's gonna heal all your problems.
Yeah.
Right? I'm
Yeah. Then
saying
you
like it
become
sounds like you might find something in here that resonates with you.
then you're being the guru. Now then you're saying rely on me, let me take your power away, and now just come to me whenever you need something. Like you're not able to do this yourself, and that's something I experienced with Irene, where I'm like, heal me. I got into the work with her, and I'm like, heal me, fix me, show me how to do this. And man, every time I'd ask her for a more personal question for me, it's like I'd bounce that ball to her, and she'd boom catch it, bounce it right back to me, and be like, "What do you think?" And I'd be like, damn it, And it's
Yeah.
interesting. She did that differently for different people in the group, like people that needed a little bit more hand holding, and people that needed to learn to trust themselves. And I was the latter.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is that's the big reason why I have the no shoulds and shouldn'ts right in my work because like to like say the phrase real quick just so like everybody has an idea as I unpack this is that excuse me the games that I created in the system the cube framework is there's a saying that starts the game which is while you are playing that there are no rules there are no rights and wrongs and you can do anything you want. I'm going to use something to use and something to touch. Right hand to a color or to a block or to a toy or to whatever in your room. Okay. So all I'm giving you is point A to point B logistics. I'm
hmm
saying, hey, driver, pick up this delivery at this address at this time and deliver it to this address at this time. Does it matter what the 10th song on your playlist is while you're driving there to do it?
I mean, if you're overthinking it, it becomes a thing.
Right. Now you're saying, well, do I have the right 10th song? Is my 10th song as good as the other guy's 10th song? Like maybe I want to check out his like I don't know, like and now you're as soon as you propose the question,
Now you're attaching meaning to something that is not
meaning
meant.
to an object or meaning to a phrase or anything. We give everything our own meaning.
hmm
So I'll share this story with you because this is to make it personal a little bit. Um, Going back into my past a little bit, I was in a pretty abusive relationship for a year and a half where I was the abused. I was like, there was times where I was walking in the front door when you got home and you didn't know if you're gonna punched or hugged. Like, does
Mm.
she love me today or does she hate me today? Like, I don't know. Like,
Uh,
probably something I did wrong I didn't know I wasn't even part of that is still my fault.
yeah.
So that had all this, what I've learned about in my anger recently is pent up, um, not fight,
Flight.
no, fight, and it's, survive, fuck, I forgot it now.
Activation, flight, fight.
No, it's like, it's the other thing is opposite of fight. It's not flight, um,
On.
but it comes out of the same as creation energy. But that, I was like, it's,
Now, life force energy is that what that sounds like a little
well,
bit.
right, but it happens when you get it. It starts to build up when you've had to keep your mouth shut when you really wanted to say something.
Now, I hear when you're describing that, what came to mind was like a backlog of emotional suppression.
Yeah, essentially that.
It's like
Yes.
and I learned this recently. You're like this. I was so afraid of doing too much, and that's something to think about as we start this trauma work. That everything is a wave, right? And a wave's got to hit a peak. So if I've got activation, we call it anxiety. To get through that, to complete, I got to hit the top. And I got to trust that I'm going to come back down the other side and ride the wave. But what I was doing my whole life was going up the wave and being so scared of what that felt like in my body that I shut it down and stop it,
Right.
which instead of it stops the wave, and that is more painful to the body to like resist it because we're attaching meaning to it. We're saying this is me instead of like we would do in a psychedelic ceremony of going wave goodbye to it
Right.
and feel it as it leaves.
Well, then, but it's like in the psychedelic situation, you're ripping the Band-Aid off,
Oh yeah, you're right.
right? So
A
that's the
lot of
difference
people
is
get
you're ripping the Band-Aid off, and then if you ripped it off in the wrong place, the wrong set, the wrong setting, the wrong relationships, the wrong boundaries or whatever, and you rip that band-aid off. And now you're exposing, that's where the bad trip thing comes from, is like you're exposing all of this that you weren't ready to handle yet.
Do you
So I
think
was kind of
that's
explaining is like when I tell people about trauma work, it's like, start by finding the door and maybe knocking on it,
mhm.
maybe just standing in front of it, maybe just
Yeah,
knowing the door exists and you're like, I'm just gonna stand here and see what it feels like. But don't kick the door down.
yeah, that's so smart.
Right? Like knock it, like find the people, find a little crack of light. I don't know, look through the keyhole, something. But like, don't go in there thinking you're
But
gonna be like,
that
oh God.
requires the ability to slow down and be with the experience, which not many people are trained to do.
No, I get it. My experience last Saturday, like we talked about a little bit before we started this with LSD, was I I found myself shrinking. I could feel it in my body where I was like getting small in there, which it's hyper connecting you. You're around thousands of people you don't know. You're in a
Mhm.
really loud, chaotic environment. There's everybody's in costume.
It's a music festival. Sounds like Halloween.
Yeah, so it's just craziness. But then you take all of your protections away. And as I would follow the guys around I was there with, I kept trying to posture to be something else,
That's such a good
right?
catch. Yeah.
So then when they would leave or I would lose them because it's so easy, it's dark and everybody's, all messed up a little bit on something or whatever, or having a good time. So like it's just like chaos all the time. And but when I would leave them or lose them, all of a sudden I was like, oh, well now I can focus on the feeling I'm having, right? Why do I
Versus
feel
what
this
were you
way?
focused on before?
Well, because that's where we're trying to posture. Our ego is trying to like fit in. We're trying to be the person we're supposed to be there. Because I'm not an electronic music person. I'm not like that's not my like go-to show to go to,
Right.
right? So you have all these like pieces, all these layers, all this stuff. They're like, does it match my thing? Am I like I watch a lot of people, dancing with their arms down. Everybody's dancing like this. And I was like, why am I dancing like that too? And then I was like, it felt super uncomfortable to lift my arms up. So for a whole set. I was just focusing on like trying to get my, I was like putting my arms in the air and I would like try to dance with my arms and all this kind of stuff and like trying to break these patterns. Because clearly there's a pattern in there somewhere.
Mhm.
You know, that because if I'm under fear, then I'm freezing.
Mhm.
So
And
what about this?
let
What?
me pause you right there, Joe, because
Yeah,
you said the freeze, and I just kept thinking the bad trip, too much too soon, which is a theme in the trauma world. We don't want to do too much too soon.
right.
And so so much of us are in a freeze or in a functional freeze. It feels like that bad trip is lifting the freeze too fast for someone who's not ready and doesn't
Yep.
have the tools to integrate or the people around them to support them through this process.
Yeah, because the yeah, you rip the band-aid off, you kick the door down, and you might learn a few things. You might have a lot of realizations. Here's the part of it too, and this is where the cube really comes into this, because a lot of times you have these big realizations, you know, these aha moments, if you want to call them. You're like, oh, that's it. Ta-da! I figured it out. I can solve this thing now. But as you became sober again, you don't remember the thing because you were too high to remember it.
Mm.
And you don't remember it well enough to be able to integrate it or to start to use it in a sober situation to actually embody it, right? You only remembered it as a vision or an experience, like a short experience that you had. So like when I did the talking one, like I was like practicing talking and I couldn't get myself to go up and talk to anybody.
Well,
I was like,
go
oh,
back the hands. You were talking about the hands.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just I kept feeling my body as it opened up. Like I felt this like I was like rigid here in my whole torso. I was like, God, like why am I so freaking tight? And I couldn't. Everybody else kept staying like that. Everybody was staying down. And then as soon as I got my arms up and I was like dancing and like actually like I was like, oh shit, I'm doing it. And I
So
kept
is
doing
that
it.
the moment you kind of had the, oh, this is the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I need
work
to
on the
be
thing. Work on
free
the.
or to put my hands up.
Yeah, like who cares? Like I'm not blocking
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah.
Like who cares? Like
That's
why am I
usually what
still
the
worried
message
about
is.
getting my arms in front of somebody at a rave? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right? So then once I got that, then three or four other people around me had their hands up. Where it was like,
Like a
you
chain
know,
reaction.
nobody else wanted to have their arms down either. Why were we dancing like fucking Charlie Brown at a rave? Like that doesn't make any sense,
Ah!
you know? So um but yeah, getting the I was able to lock that in all night because I'm using it. That's the whole thing. Like once you figure it out, if you just let it go by, you don't actually embody any of it or practice what you just figured out, you're not going to retain it because it can't be just one moment. You has to apply to a relationship. It should apply to another ego. You have to be witness doing the thing,
Mm. That makes so that makes so much sense.
right? Because
Like
you're only
so
healing
having a
yourself. So now
facility.
you're essentially still in your head, right? You're essentially you figured the thing out, but you figured it out in your head.
You
But like you
figured
didn't.
out cognitively, it hasn't
Yes.
traveled down to the somatic
Right, because you're too
body
much
yet.
in fear. Your fight or flight system's like skyrocketing right now. You're like tripping. You're like nothing's normal. Nothing's like you
Everything's
know
weird, and it is
everything.
that the okay. Is that the part of the psychedelic experience in the beginning where it's like before the breakthrough, it feels like you're high on weed or something like that, and you're kind of hitting a ceiling. It's uncomfortable. I don't know what's going on, and then it's like you get the thing, the realization, the new awareness, and it sounds like it's still in your head, and it's got to make the trip into into embodiment.
Yeah,
Is
because
that
you're taking it in from they meant predictive processing. Okay, you're taking in sensory experience. You're taking in sensory information. Okay, but the psychedelic takes down your default mode network all the way down to base, down to like this is me. I have nothing left. Like this is my default mode network.
Mhm.
Okay? And then you take its predictions that it's basing it off of and skewing it, right? So now the things you thought you were aren't what you actually think you were, right? Because now it's all like it's all messed up in your head, and and the uncomfortableness as you're getting ready to transition into that feeling high, and all of a sudden you're like like blows wide open. Is that you're still trying to your ego is still your fear, your fear, your fear, your fear, your fear. It's building.
Okay.
right? So that's the whole ego trying to preserve control, preserve,
Yes,
right?
that
But you
makes
put
sense.
something that's going to eventually tip you farther past that, and that's when things get weird, right? Things start moving, things or whatever. You like see things, hear things, auditory, everything's like fucking like magnified. And that magnification is what is now being absorbed as a sensory experience in your body, but even higher levels than what you would sober.
Hmm.
So now the more you could process what you're think cognitively while you're that high, depending on how high you are, like obviously if you take like some hero dose, like there's not really a lot of control of anything. You're not really,
There's not a lot of
you're,
thinking in that
there's
one.
not a lot of thinking there. You're like literally just like fumbling
That's-
around trying to figure life
Yeah.
out. That's why I like the lower doses too, because I want
Same.
like not always. I want to be able to like, what am I getting from this? I'm
Yes.
not using it to escape. That's why I tell people all the time was like, the difference I think of like psychedelics is like plant medicines are more internal. They're taking you back to self. They're connecting. You're realigning.
Do you think it's the same? I feel like mushrooms are always more grounding, and you mentioned LSD. That's always been like very energizing for me. Do you feel
Yeah,
like they're kind of similar?
yeah. So here's how I always say that. Um, because I had an interesting conversation about the whole thing with my Uber driver on the way home because he was talking about like, and you could tell this guy like I mean his car was like fucking meticulous. He
Yeah.
drove like 10 and 2, like everything was I mean this dude was on it, man. You could tell like he had his shit together.
And you've been
Younger
tripping
kid.
balls for 12 hours.
Yeah, he's like younger kid. He's probably in his 20s, whatever. And I was like, LSD to me has always been spatial. It's more like out, right? It's like seeing the world. Situational spatial awareness is what LSD was for me. Like that's what I'm learning. I'm not learning anything about me. I'm learning the outside and how the outside affects me and what I'm giving meaning to the things outside of here, outside of me. Okay, but mushrooms and ayahuasca and like plant medicines go inside. They're taking you back to soul. They're taking you back to consciousness, back to like
Original factory setting.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
Back to factory setting. Um, so LSD is very electric to me. It's very like sharp,
Yes.
clean lines and like, you can see how you can almost like see how the universe works.
Do you feel like you can see people talk about living in a simulation. Do you feel like you can see the simulation or like see
Yeah.
patterns?
Yeah, I think it's yeah, because that's the spatialness. You're seeing like you're it's like plugging your own extension cord into the universe, right?
Woo!
You're like, whew, fucking electricity. And then mushrooms are very animated. They're very cartoon. They're very soft. They're very like mushy, right?
Yeah,
They
they're,
they
they're
they're
grounding and
soft.
emotional to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the one guy that DJs, he's the one that told us about this party last year when we went the first time, and he was like, "Yeah, I took mushrooms here one time, and I just spent the whole time walking around the block thinking about life." And I was like, "Never taking mushrooms here again." I missed the
I,
whole party.
I feel you on the smaller doses thing too now. Certainly have had my heroic doses and I see I'm interested in that, and eventually again, the more I'm in my nervous system regulation journey and I'm not trying to escape so much.
Yeah,
And it felt like a little bit outside of my capacity, but the smaller doses, like a microdose, and for me specifically, have been using them recently when I feel stuck in my work, and it's just enough to nudge me outside of that and see typically what you're worried about is silly and life is beautiful.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, because you're just enough to take you out of the prevent or shit, what's the word self-preservation. You're lowering your self-preservation. You're taking your
Or your
ego preservation.
hypervigilance.
Yeah, because their hypervigilance is safety.
Yes.
Ultimately, everything is safety, right? So like if you take your self-preservation system down a little bit and say like I'm going to give up control
Hmm.
because I feel I'm in an environment that I feel safe enough to allow my control
Allow
of my
myself to come out.
self-preservation to let go a little bit because I trust the people around me
Yeah. And I trust myself.
and I trust myself. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest one a lot of people are missing. To be really honest, like that's the thing I learned most in the last 6 months about my journey. I had a therapist right now. He's amazing. If any older guys in here in their 40s or up, like find yourself an old man therapist because I'm telling you, like my guy's in his 70s. He's very in tune with like the way our thoughts create reality and like how he talks from the universe basically.
Mm.
And the one thing he did to me one time, which is really fucking great, really was, because he asked me the first question he asked me at the start of the session. He was like, "Do you trust yourself?" And I was like, "Well, fuck yeah, I do. Like I've done all these things. I'm awesome, right?" And he goes, "All right, we'll come back to that." So we go through this whole 50-minute session, and he's asking me all these other questions. We're having a whole conversation, blah blah blah, whatever, just carrying on. And he comes back at the very end. He's like, "Remember I asked you if you trusted yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you've been speaking from a place of doubt for 50 minutes now." And I was like,
Black.
God damn it.
Yeah.
But that's what you need, right? Like, because the other day I had something come up and I was like, no, 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 all this stuff. And I was just like unloading and whatever. And he's like, all right, well, I mean, you remember, like, or you have to remember, like, ultimately, it really just comes down to how you're thinking. Like, it all
Totally.
just comes down to that. It all comes down to your thought process. It's like literally the most ridiculous, the most simplest, and the fucking hardest thing to change because we can't get out of our own way of thinking.
Oh, the journey from
But
the
literally,
head
you
to
just
the
change
heart.
the way you think, and everything fucking resolves itself. Like
How do you do that?
almost instantaneous, almost instantaneous. It just like resolves itself.
How do you change how you think then?
Um, Having a therapist helps. Being able to like see it from somebody else's perspective that has. Here's the thing I'm always cautious about when because I've been through a lot of therapists and like I share with some of my stuff too soon. All of a sudden, I've lost therapists because they want to know all about Joe's thing. Right? I'm like, so every therapy session became like me teaching, and I was like, no, 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 that's not how this fucking works.
Hmm.
Um, but when you're looking for a therapist, and this is something that Bree has a hard time with because she's autistic, my wife. Um, she's like, everybody wants me to get to go in therapy, and it's nothing but been traumatizing and misdiagnoses and like medications and all this stuff, and it's like not really what I want. I want someone to like hear me from my perspective. Well, she's autistic. She goes, I don't want another person that studied autism to tell me how autism is.
Yeah.
I want someone that's autistic, that's a therapist, that can speak from the same point of view that I live in.
That's a great piece of advice for anybody considering this work. Find someone that's similar to you that has done what you want to do and go work with them.
Yeah, you need the insight. You need like we'll go down the whole chat AI thing too, but you have to find you're trying to find insight. Like that's the biggest word, right? It's like you need that one person that's gone through the thing you're going through. They go, "Hey, this is what I'm going through right now," and they're like, "But did you try this?" You're like, "Thanks, that's all I needed." And it's just like the one little like key, right? You just met the sage, and he handed you a key to level 4, and you're like, "Thanks, dude." And like, he didn't tell you anything.
Yeah,
He didn't
you
fucking really
you
tell you
know.
anything. They're like, "Oh, well, you probably need to go this way," and you're like, "Oh, I didn't think about going that way." Because you weren't thinking. Your thinking is based on like you staying trying to protect yourself where you're at.
And that's a good point to bring up. Um, this can feel this journey can feel like a needle in the haystack, and I gotta find the right person, and am I doing the right modality? Is it working? You know, and for me, um, your nervous system is the map. It will show you the person. You'll watch a show, you watch a YouTube video, whatever. The person I'm working with now, she's so much like me. I got attracted to her work. I don't remember how that happened. And as I got into her community, into her world, I am just flabbergasted by how similar we were. And when I had her on the podcast, this is Simona, she said something that just dropped me in my tracks. And it was like, what I was dealing with was sensitization, or you could call it global high from a somatic experiencing perspective. But it's basically the nervous system is washed with adrenaline and hypervigilant and bewilderment. Bewilderment means I'm trying to figure it out. And she said, you know what keeps you stuck is you're trying to fix it and you're trying to figure it out. And I was like, that's what I do. That's my life. Well, I don't understand. And so um, if I trust that impulse and I keep following that impulse, um, my nervous system's going to show me the next step. And that's all I need is the next step. I don't have to figure this shit out right
You
now.
have to figure the whole thing out. You're trying to solve the whole puzzle, but you never put a whole puzzle together at one time. You start with the edges or you start with the corners,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
how do
the
you
same analogies, the same analogies. Like you can't put the whole puzzle together at one time,
yeah, how do you
you
eat a
know.
bear?
But the other part of it too is if you have to understand how much you really want to, how much is worth solving.
What do you mean by that? That's an interesting point.
How much is worth solving? How much is that, because we know that now is just it.
Yes.
Right now is now. Like that's like you can't do anything from back there, and everything from here is a mystery or a possibility, but it doesn't exist. So how much is it worth solving? How much time are you going to spend changing your thought process or changing your feeling or changing your emotions or your body's response to a thing that happened 20 years ago?
Well, that's my point. I think trying to change it is what keeps us stuck instead
Right.
of trying to meet it.
Yeah, meet it where it's at and take what you can from it. That's why I push writing letters all the time, right? If that's a way of connecting. Well, let's kind of dive into that a little bit too. But because it matches this, is if perfect example, the woman I'm working for right now doing massage, her husband is getting laid off from GM. They gave him a 6 week notice. 3 weeks before he's going to be laid off, his buddy gets hold of him from San Francisco and said he's a designer out or an engineer out there for Grubhub and says, "Hey, I need a designer. Are you looking for a job?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm getting laid off in 3 weeks." So he's living in California already because he had to start right away. But he's designing the drones for Grubhub for the food delivery, right?
And,
So
and, and
like,
that person could very easily freak the fuck out and be applying for jobs incessantly, begging, whatever that is, like really in
yeah,
a stressful response, and they're gonna miss the opportunity.
yeah, exactly. So then Erica, his wife, that's who I work for. I was like giving her a massage, and I didn't even know this was even happening. I hadn't seen her in weeks, because she just owns the place. I don't really see her that often. And so she was telling me about the whole scenario and the situation, and she's going to be out there eventually, and come back once a month to like check up on things and whatever. And she goes, when I was like 18, 19, all I ever wanted to do when I got out of school was to move away from here, move away from Detroit, and try to live in somewhere cool, like somewhere different, like learn, check out the world. And because he got a job right away, they stayed. And she's been in Detroit now for pretty much her entire life, and she's pushing 40. And so what I told her, I had this thought when I was working on her, and because now it's happening. Now she's leaving. Now she gets to go to this big city, and he has the job that covers it and all this kind of stuff. So when I was leaving, I was like, hey, I was like, I know you're uncertain, and she's like, tell me how it's gonna feel to move across the country, or like whatever. Like, what am I gonna experience? Like, what are things like tips I can give her? So at the end, I told her she was getting her car, and I was like, "Hey, I forgot to tell you something." I was like,
Hmm.
"You remember that young woman that really wanted to see the world and felt like she got stuck here and like hasn't never got to do the thing? Well, you're doing the thing right now." I was like, "I think you should write a letter to your younger self that still feels scared about doing this and tell her that your dream's finally happening and that we're doing it and we're gonna make it and all these things and like connect that line back together."
Damn, Joe, you're making me cry, dude.
Because that's your thing. That's the thing you always wanted. Whether it's like you believe in destiny or like a path or whatever. Like the thing that you always wanted to happen is now happening. So go back and connect the person that really wanted to do it 20 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever. And there's this guy, Matthias Barker. He was the one that talked about this. He's a psychotherapist, but he has a great YouTube channel and Instagram and stuff. Uh, he's the one that got me, like I listened to one of his videos about it, about healing childhood trauma, and he was like, the uncomfortableness that you're feeling from something that happened when you were a child is that that little person is still back there still hurt, still screaming, still like uncomfortable because you had to move on. You couldn't stay back there and figure it out because you're a little kid and life moves on without you. So you push it away and you push it down because you're a grown man. You shouldn't cry and you shouldn't have feelings and like suck it up, buttercup, and like get over your shit and whatever. And you push it away. And he was like, you have to go back there and rescue them. You have to go back to that little person that's still lost back there that this horrible thing happened to them. And he was like, you have to write a letter to them and say like, hey, dude, we made it. We're safe. Here's how old we are now. Like, here's where we're living at. Here's all the amazing things in my life. And forgive them for not knowing any better when you're that age, right? So now you're giving your own self, your own 6-year-old self, the insight you have now at 40. And you're going to write that. That's the social story. That's writing your own social story. You don't have to use AI for that. You can write it yourself.
Yeah,
You're writing your own letter back to yourself in that person saying like, hey buddy, like we didn't know any better. We were too young to know that we could have ran to the neighbor's house or we could have like told the police or whatever. Like you didn't know, like you were a little kid. How were you supposed to know that?
damn. I think so. We're talking. It's November the 5th. I think this is a perfect opportunity for this because there's so much energy in the air. We've got our super full moon. I believe it's called a solar maximum, meaning the sun is throwing off a lot of coronal mass ejections. These solar flares that are pounding the Earth, that are in the next couple of days is going to be significant. There's also the asteroid belt. Can't remember the name of it, but it's in the area and it's in its maximum. Supermoon, asteroids, lots of solar storms, and then let's not forget the interstellar object.
Oh yeah.
And so for the next 3 or 4 days, like it's a huge time for working with this energy. And man, this is a gift to me because man, I'm tearing up hearing this because I'm in this place with my journey where it is happening. And it feels like there's still some fingers holding on. I got maybe there's just a pinky left. So there's part of me that's like, oh my God, we're good. We're doing it. And there's a part of me that's like you said, I'm afraid to let go. I'm afraid to let go and trust the universe. I feel like I still have to be part of me feels like I have to be the doer, that I have to
And that's
control.
that's part of our attachment. That's part of our the when you were younger, the person that was supposed to be in your care or your care of you and to trust and to have and support you and to listen to you and to be emotionally available for you, right? As a fresh person of the universe, right? Like you're coming from perfect, right? You're born perfect. And then from there you're conditioned,
Oh,
right?
you're
So
whipped into
all the
shape.
time that you're supposed to secure and know that like, oh, I'm good. Like this is me and I know that that person has my back, right? I'm good, right? If you didn't have great family systems, then you don't have a solid, secure attachment to self.
Foundation, yeah.
Right? You don't know you don't trust yourself because
Because you were taught not to.
you
You
were taught
were
not
you
to.
were you were conditioned by being punished, ridiculed, whatever it was,
Right? That's
sent
the
to your
shame
room.
cycle, though. That's the
Huh?
shame cycle. Like so, chasing ghosts. Let's go down that one for a second because that's where this kind of like fits right here. It's somebody I created it from something I learned from John Bradshaw, who's an amazing he was an amazing shame researcher back in the 70s, probably.
And plug your video that you like with him.
Oh yeah, that's Healing the Shame That Binds You,
Yeah.
John Bradshaw. But there's something he said in there. He's like he says it really fast, and I kind of unpacked it into like what it really means in trauma or abuse or whatever. And he's like, imagine you're like walking, you and your ride or die best friend. You guys know each other for 10 years. You've both had kids. Like your families hang out. Like you're there. You love each other. And you just had lunch. You're out walking in the park with a coffee and just like having a conversation like you normally do and like you've done 500 times before. And your friend turns to you, punches you in the face as hard as they can, walks off, and never talks to you ever again for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Why'd they do that? You never saw it coming. You had no idea it was about to happen. Like, why would you even think it was about to happen? That's what child abuse is.
Yeah.
That's you receiving a reaction, having never caused an action
For being yourself.
for being yourself,
Yeah.
right? So the chasing ghosts that a lot of people experience, and this is, I'll kind of unpack what that means, is that your predictive brain, your safety system, your self-preservation is there to record experiences that you caused, that you experienced this bad thing to happen, right? What did I do to make sure I never do it again to keep me from getting my ass beat?
Damn.
But you never actually did anything at all. You just received a punishment from someone else's unresolved trauma. So now you're left for the rest of your life going, was it something I wore? Was it something I said?
Is there something wrong with
Is
me?
there something wrong with me? Is there like,
Something bad about to happen? That's the
right,
hypervigilance.
right, you're chasing the ghost. You're chasing a solution that doesn't exist because you didn't cause anything to make the thing happen.
Chasing a solution that doesn't exist. Well, that sounds like being stuck.
Yeah, you're just spinning you're spinning wheels. You're literally like it wasn't you that caused it. It wasn't your fault. You're
And
trying
so,
to figure out
oh
why
yeah,
it
and let
was.
me add this. I think this is really good. You'll like this. That's because at a young age, we are unable to see our parents, our caregivers, as failure. So that means what's happening there is the environmental failure. My needs were not met. I was not attuned to. And what happens is that anger that should be directed outwards is impossible for a young one because they can't see them their it would be too catastrophic for them to think that their caregiver, something's wrong with their caregiver. So what do? We turn it
Start
back
with
on
me.
ourselves.
Right. And that's why that's Bradshaw says this in that video and it makes it so clear in one sentence that shame, toxic shame, like abuse, corporal punishment, all of that, right? Because you received it for not doing anything, right? But you received it. Okay? It takes the problem from I made a mistake, oops, sorry, to I am the mistake.
Yeah, I'm bad.
I'm bad. It must be me.
Mm-hmm.
I must be the bad one. That's the only reason it happened because of me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I didn't do anything else. So if I didn't actually do anything, but I received this punishment, the only thing that makes sense is that it's me.
Definitely.
And then the
Yeah.
rest of your life, you're going, I don't know how to make it. I can't be perfect enough. I can't do enough. I can't try enough. I can't say enough. I can't do anything enough to earn back the respect of the person I thought was supposed to give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you
And
can
so
do
if
because
we're in
you can't get
this,
yourself back. That's what the whole like have you ever heard the phrase breaking a child's spirit?
yeah.
That's what it is. You're stealing their conscience, you're stealing their self from them because now they're obedient.
Whew, that makes me so mad when I hear that. That means there's unresolved anger in me that I get to work on later, but that's actually something in therapy. I'm just starting to crack into some anger. And she's like, yeah, seeing that, you weren't met in the way that you needed, like, how's that make you feel? And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Dude, like talking about the anger thing, I just got a I was asked to chat about it because I was like I have a whole thread of like my own mental health, like my own thoughts and like ruminations and stuff like that. And I was like, I gotta figure out this anger thing. Like why am I so fucking angry all the time? And that was that pent up energy and it mentioned getting a slam ball.
A slam ball. Oh yeah, you asked
Yeah,
me.
like the weighted ball, like the has a sandbag inside of it, and it's like the slam ball channels that energy back into creative energy
Tell me
because
about
you're instead of using it as anger for destruction, you're rechanneling it back into creation. Because now you're taking this thing, it's like use it, get a punching bag or get this slam ball or whatever,
were
like
they
do
little
something.
sticks? You seen the sticks?
Well, this is like it's all about it's like don't make it a rage ball, don't make it a rage thing, but it's like that's really what you're trying to channel this anger out of you. Like it's not even a weightlifting thing. It's like pick the ball up and fucking scream and just fucking throw the goddamn thing on the ground as hard as you can.
Yeah, so that's okay. So I want to talk about that. That's something I've been trying to understand too. Like, I'm going to tell a funny story to get to this though. So last week, we get these layups from the universe. They show us where triggers show us where we need to go next. And my wife was out of town. Have I told you the story yet about the
I don't
dogs?
think so.
Oh my God. Well, I got to tell it on the podcast, I guess. So my I'm watching the dogs. Katie's in Florida. And I go in there the first morning, and as soon as I open the door, I know that they have shit everywhere.
Oh
And I open
no.
the door, it's like, dude, they're in the little laundry room. It's on the floor, it's on the laundry room, or on the laundry machine or whatever, it's on the washing machine, it's on the wall. They're caked in it, their beds are in it, like it is
Oh
crusted to the
wow.
floor. And I'm like, and bro, it was Monday morning, you know. I had to be at appointments and things like that. I'm very upset, but I work through it. And then it's like I got stuck in traffic. I got behind the mailman. I was 15 minutes late. I spilled my food on me. Like everything, I needed help from somebody, and I was just like, "Ah!" Right? And then later on, I let her inside, my dog inside for 20 minutes so I could take a nap. She shit in the house again. So now I know her stomach's messed up. I tell my wife, I'm like, oh my God. So I made it through the first day fairly okay. Um, Kind of shut down whenever the second thing happened. And then my wife's like, make sure you take her out the next night. I'm like, before you put her to bed. Okay, got that. Dude, I went in there second next morning. I'm all excited to see him. I slept good. Same thing all over again. And this is when it became too much. And because I wanted to beat the fucking shit out of these dogs, but I don't want to hurt my dogs. I don't want to do that. And
Right,
and I
right.
was trying to express it. I did exactly what you just said. I took the slam ball and it wasn't enough. I was beating on the uh, the trash can. I was ugh, ugh. I was doing everything I could to express it, but it was all over me and I didn't know what to do with it. So like unpack, walk me through how to work with that. Because it sounds like you're a little bit ahead of me on that one.
Not by much. Maybe a week or so of like trying to understand it. It's very because I was like I didn't realize until I became more I guess more aware of my own my own space of realizing that how much of the problem I still was because I kept like there was the thing that started it was my therapist, the one I was talking about earlier. Everybody kept saying over the course of a decade of my relationship, which has been a lot of ups and downs, right? Of everybody's like, well, the perpetrator victim thing, it's the perpetrator victim thing, the perpetrator victim. I was like, what the fuck does it even mean?
Yeah.
Everybody
It's
uses
like you're
that this
using
phrasing all
jargon.
the time, and I'm like, what does that mean though? I can't like take that phrase and apply it to my marriage to know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah. Thanks for the definition. Like, I mean, the like, give me the word. Like, who cares?
Yeah, like what does that mean? Like, what are you meaning by that? So then I'm sitting with him, and he doesn't even say that at all. He says like, well, if you're always someone's problem and their solution, it's never gonna get better. And I was like, oh. I was like, why the fuck didn't anybody tell me that 10 years
What do you
ago?
mean? You're somebody's problem and solution?
Yeah, if you're always the problem, if you're someone if everything's always blamed on you, like you're my problem. If it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be that way. If it wasn't for this
So
that
you're
you did,
projecting.
right, it wouldn't be this way. But without you, I don't know if I could survive,
So there's a bunch of attachment issues going on here and projection.
right? So now like I can never do anything right, but if you leave me, I can't I won't survive.
That's an interesting scenario when I see this play out when I've got family members I'm thinking of where they're so visibly hurt and hurting, and then they lash out with very hateful words and will sometimes even make it like it's a joke. say it in a way that it's like, oh, I'm kidding, especially when the person gets
Yeah,
excited.
haha, funny, funny.
Yeah, and then the person who's getting shit on is like, I'm not doing this. And then the person's like, oh my God, I need you so much in my life.
Yeah,
And it's all coming from this attachment wound, and we're spraying our stuff all over the place. And I don't think that person wants to be mean. It's like the only thing they know. And I've noticed this in myself recently. And there's like this nastiness that comes from being hurt.
yeah. That's why hurt people hurt people. That's
That's
why
it.
that where it comes from,
Yeah.
right? Because like you're like for some reason it was done to me and it was okay, so why can't I do it to other people?
And we don't, but you can even say, I don't think it's okay. And I hate that. This is like what happens in my family is I'll talk about my mom will talk about how she feels about her mom, and it's exactly how I feel. And that basically shows if we don't heal our stuff, we pass it down. But she cannot see that she hates the behavior and she can't imagine herself doing it. But I'm like,
Yeah.
here it is. This is how I feel. She's like, no, wait. So it's dismiss and gaslight and avoid and stay in the pattern.
There's I haven't listened to all of her videos yet, but you're gonna absolutely love her. Absolutely, absolutely love her. There's a channel I found on YouTube called The Canary in the Coal Mine.
Oh yeah, that's definitely my person.
And it talks about it's helping the cycle breakers survive. And what you're doing by being the cycle breaker, like what you're just talking about with what your mom is doing, is that you're becoming the mirror. You're holding the mirror up in her face, and she doesn't know what to do with it, so she reacts to
Oh,
being
dude,
shown, to being seen.
I'll be speaking with her, helping her with her stuff, and I'm sitting here going like telling her, I'm explaining it to her. Well, yeah, this is where this comes from, and when our parents do this, and this is how we did it. But and the crazy thing is, I'm educating her on my pain, but I'm not necessarily putting it in her face and being like,
You
hey,
don't
this is
have to. It's subconscious. You're showing the truth, right? You're not telling her you're not blaming her. You're not throwing anything at her or anything like that. But subconsciously, you're still talking about a truth. You're talking about a thing that you know factually how it works, scientifically how it works.
Mhm.
And by you explain that to her, it causes that reaction of self-preservation. Like I didn't know, or I've been had. Have you ever listened to the book, The 48 Laws of Power?
Yeah, Robert Greene. I haven't in a
Yeah.
long time. I got it back here though, I think.
So a lot of people when they like even read any of it, they're like, yeah, that's bullshit. It's all about manipulation. It's all about taking advantage of people and whatever. And I was like, no. If the reason you're so pissed off about it is you're reading how many times you've been had. You're realizing how many times people pulled the wool over your eyes or like took advantage of you or manipulated you or whatever or use these power moves like subconsciously because they're laws, right? So like we use them against each other to like position naturally, right? Without even realize we're doing it. But then you read this book and all of a sudden it's like coming to light all the times you were like, oh, God damn it. Fuck, that wasn't me. You're like, oh, why did you do that? Like, that would have been so different if I would have approached it that way or realized
You
that
know,
was happening.
I read that book as a young man in sales in the corporate world because everybody was 2 decades older than me, and I'm like, it's frat boy, and I didn't understand the power moves they were doing, and that's how I got into it. I'm like, oh, they're trying to manipulate me, So I
Yeah,
think it sounds like I used it for a different. It was like an awareness for me of
yeah.
like, oh, here's the games that they're playing. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't understand.
I used it because I knew I wanted to take down, not really take down, let's approach it a different way. Approach it from the place of making a significant change in healthcare systems or in like overall mental health systems or whatever. Well, the people that run the systems are still people that are affected by the same laws in the book.
And I'd say they're unconscious most of the time that they're even
Yeah,
affecting people.
right. So I'm like, why don't I just learn those and use those against the system, which is also people,
Hmm.
instead of taking advantage of a person?
Yeah.
right?
And
Use them
I
to
like
your
that.
power, use them to like navigate the seas of bureaucracy, because those systems are still people.
That are
So just like,
misguided and conditioned and unaware.
right. So you can swoop right in there and they don't know what you're even doing. And that's part of the reason I've stayed quiet for so long. So I've kind of hidden away. Part of it was because I didn't trust myself.
Well, we gotta freaking take a U-turn and go into your thing because I want people. I mean, we've been chatting, Joe. You know, me and you would go freaking two,
Oh
3
yeah.
years. We gotta talk to the audience about what you've been hiding.
Yeah. Hiding. Yep. Um, that's the whole not trusting yourself. Well, then being angry, right? So I'm like, here's I'll unpack this one piece of like the hiding because like obviously I have a ton of toxic shame from childhood, from teachers. I
Hmm.
was like picked up out of my chair by my hair by my second grade teacher and had my desk dumped on the floor in front of the entire class.
Oh my God.
So like I have that kind of shit, like emotional abandonment, like you name it. So I kept hiding, but I kept getting smarter and smarter because the whole thing of like survival and not feeling safe is to get as smart as you can to make sure you're always able to get out of every situation.
Mm. Then
Right?
you're constantly in fight or flight because everything's a danger.
Right. So you're only learning to survive. You're learning to survive. You're learning to like get yourself out of any
And the crazy
situation.
thing about that is we learn faster in survival. So you're just like,
Right? Because you have to like keep like, okay, now what? Okay, now what? Okay, now what? And you're like adjust, 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 adjust. And that's what you're doing. You keep pivoting. You're pivoting faster than anybody can even like possibly think about because you're
yep.
only in your head. You're not actually like being guided by your heart. It's so cerebral because you're just like protect this, protect self, protect
And
your
this feels
emotions.
too uncomfortable. You don't go in here.
Right.
That's the scary stuff.
Right. Because you don't know how to trust that. Right? Because it's too volatile. It's
Well,
too
because
hard.
you were told it was wrong and bad. It was conditioned out of you. You got to get in line and act like this if you want to get, your treat.
Yeah.
That's the
Sorry, my wife. You
conditioning.
hear my wife like upstairs. But um, yeah. So part of it was, as I got more and more powerful, if you want to call it that, based on like my positioning, where I was at with what I'm working on. I've had
More nervous system capacity.
more nervous system capacity because now the relationships you're developing are like massive. Like to give a perspective, like I had two members of the German government fly to North Carolina to meet with me in person, who only interview 30 companies a year in North America for this project they're working on, right? And they met me, right? So I'm like, well, shit, okay. So like you're building these really powerful relationships, essentially like international relationships with other governments, right? So then, but I don't trust myself because I still feel angry and I feel like out of control and I feel like I'm going to do something wrong and then it's going to blow the whole thing apart. So I'm just going to wait. I keep waiting. I'm going to waiting because I don't trust myself, right? And it keeps getting bigger. And now I became afraid of how powerful I became.
Well, afraid of how powerful you became, or afraid of being seen in your power.
Yes, that too, because
Yeah.
that's shame. Shame is being seen.
Oh yeah, I
I feel
know.
like,
The more I get seen, like I'll be on podcasts and I'll be sweating down to my freaking ribs.
yeah. So that's being seen. That's Brene Brown's thing. She goes, shame cannot survive being shared.
Hmm.
Right? Is you're sharing the weight of it. You're passing around the weight of it. Like I don't want to hold it all myself because it's a secret. Can't tell anybody. But it destroys you inside,
Yeah, man, I feel that.
right? So the more you share the thing that you're bottling up, the lighter the weight gets. So when you talk about it, it's just like a thing you talk about. Like, oh, whatever, it's just that thing.
Yeah, no,
So that's
I was laughing because there was a point in my journey where I was like, okay, I just I just got to share everything as soon as I feel it. I just got to. And it was
yeah.
like, man, I'd freaking stop a squirrel in the woods and be like, all right, let me tell you how I'm feeling right now. Like,
Yeah.
that's the trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, so the what I learned with like working on all my stuff is that I basically was trying to fix myself. I was trying to heal myself and I was trying to heal other people that I saw in this kind of the same situation I was in. How do we be seen again? How do we like be comfortable in our own self? How do we like even know who I am. And um, so I guess a little, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start at with
Well,
this because
let
there's
let
so
me
much
do
like,
this.
why don't you ask a question? Because I don't,
Yeah,
I
I'm
see
going to
I'm
take you
following.
back because I want to go back to when we met. Me and Joe have been we're buddies like right off the bat, and we you were doing like festivals at it's not all good. What is it called?
We were at Bonnaroo, we were
Bonnaroo.
at Halloween, yeah.
So we connected over music, and we both liked psychedelics, and we were into at the time. This is really interesting to me that I don't know the answer to. We were both into like flow states, and what's the guy's like Stephen Kotler,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right? We're in the flow states. Like this is a guy who went and studied with Wim Hof and was using altered states of consciousness to get into a flow where everything just felt incredible and your performance goes to the roof and all kinds of cool things. And so we got together within 5 minutes of having a coffee. We were talking about quantum physics. I'm talking about it from emotional. You're talking about it from like an engineering state. And then you're like, I got this cube. You need to come try it out. People are getting all kinds of relaxing benefits and like come check it out. And I'm like, all right. So I go over there and I check out the cube. You were doing massage. And within like 5 minutes of that, I'm like, oh, you're trying to get me to play. And by playing, you're getting me into a flow state. And what you told me at the time was, yeah, I found that when I was trying to get adults to play, it offended them. And it's like I
Hmm.
had to try to get a boomerang to throw around their ego so that I could get them into this playful state. And it has all this trauma healing benefits. I don't know if back then, if either one of us knew what trauma was. And then a couple years later, we both get into trauma work. We're steeped in this work. We're reconnecting. And it's like, oh my God, now it's all making sense. So was I unaware that you were doing trauma, or were you unaware that you were doing
I
trauma?
think I was still unaware that I was solving it for myself. That's
Ah,
the biggest realization that I had was that I was building this thing because I needed to like find a way to like find me back, to heal myself,
mm-hmm.
and in turn helped other people. But what I was getting from is every time I would conduct a session, that mirror neurons and the helping someone else through their trauma became a collective healing process.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
how
because
I
then
feel.
that's like I sent Sam was going to do he has a queue
Hey,
down in Florida.
hey, let me pause you real quick. I got
There you
somebody.
go. So I remember exactly what I was saying because I was talking to Sam, and I don't know if I'm sure you've done this before because you've helped enough people and you've had enough conversations and as a healer, as a helper, or whatever. How many times have you actually like caught yourself saying out of your mouth, like literally it's coming out of your mouth, and you're hearing it and you realize it's your own advice that you're supposed to be taking to yourself,
Every single day.
right? You're like, oh, that's mine. Shit, that's
No,
mine.
no. It's so crazy. The clients that I work with, and I understand this is very normal for the helping arts, that until we heal our stuff, we continue to get people that are working through the same thing. And once we heal our stuff, we get more. And my clients are so much like me. They ask the questions that I am thinking about, and I am forced sometimes to say I don't know. And also to like it's like, man, I'm actively healing myself during this session. And I can get so triggered in certain sessions as well that I don't know whose is what. And it's but when I get some mentoring and someone reviews things with me, it's always my shit.
Yeah, so I'll read this text because I sent it to Sam, and you'll get it right. Because I was like, I usually say them, so I don't text them. So I didn't catch myself. I was texting, and I was like, oh damn, that's for you. And because he was gonna have a session, but he has like a couple years working with the cube, but like I have 11, right? So like the price I have set is this, and I was like, well, you can negotiate off of that based on like your experience, you know, and like set it accordingly. And I was like, you know, especially for in-person one-on-one, you know, to charge that. And I was like, but there is online offerings that are less, but you should be paid for your expertise for using the most powerful form of therapy in the world.
Okay, we're going to come back to that. The most powerful form of therapy in the world is the cube,
Is the cube.
and that's what you created.
That's what I created.
Yeah. I had to
Right?
get you to say that because
Yeah, I
we were
know,
going
I
to dance
know.
around it.
Exactly, exactly. I had to say it.
Yeah.
It's not just read it. Um, yeah, for 11 years, basically, we'll say at the beginning of this year, it all kind of like it solidified itself in belief. Not that I didn't believe in myself or believe in what I was working on or believing building the cube and like what I was learning. Something in you, you know this, by now that sometimes it's not you waking you up in the morning. There's something there's a divine force that like gets your ass out of bed and makes you do the thing, right? That's like how much of it, like we're not our body, we're not our mind. You don't know where your thoughts come from and you're not beating your own heart, right? So something, whatever you want to call it, is guiding us through some sort of stimuli.
You don't think it's your soul guiding the meat vehicle? You think it's coming from something outside of that, out of
Well, I
the,
think like think of the idea that if you go a mile up, I can't see you anymore.
say it one more time?
If I go up a mile up in the sky, I can't see you anymore,
Right.
right? So we're so small. And then, like as far as like matter, yeah, I can feel myself. But when I looked up one time, like we keep talking about how many galaxies there are and how far out we are and all this kind of stuff, right? And I was like, well, how far in are we? We always talk about out, but like how far in have we gone with like atomic microscopes and stuff like that? And I found this woman's video, and she was like, think about it this way. She goes, you know the atomic symbol, the nucleus and the electrons flying around it? She goes, think of the nucleus as a speck of dust, okay? And the electrons flying around it are the walls of a cathedral.
Hmm.
That's how far in we are. So she goes, that makes the human body 99.9999% space.
And what's left, I think I cannot remember the guy who says this, but he says the more we go down and down and down, we are basically amino acids and electricity and
Yeah,
space, it sounds like.
yeah.
That's
So where's the stimuli coming from? Because the whole idea of like, and I want to get back to my stuff because we can deep dive into the whole free will thing.
yeah.
But like the way I was explaining to people is like two things. One way I always like hearing it said by somebody was like, if you really had choice, or like if you really truly had all the complete free will, why would you ever choose to suffer?
Mm, to learn.
Okay. And the other one to think about is if I made a choice now, which is usually based on some sort of impulse, some sort of conditioning, some sort of nature, nurture, or whatever, I make this decision. I choose an apple over a banana, or an apple over a donut, right? Eat something sweet and unhealthy, or a crispy red apple, right? Why did I make that choice? Well, maybe I haven't had a donut in 10 years and I was craving one, but where'd the craving come from?
Past
Craving,
experience. Huh?
right? But if I chose the apple, maybe I grew up in a very healthy home, like apple's just a normal thing. I would never think about getting a donut because I wasn't conditioned to like eat donuts. Okay? So say you chose the apple. This is the point I'm going to make. Then we'll go back to the cube. Is if I chose the apple, how do I know what's going to happen 3 weeks from now at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday? Because I chose the apple.
What, the heart attack that shows up now?
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way of knowing what your choice was, and what it's going to do in the future.
Hmm.
That's
And
why. Have you ever
that's
listened to Master Shang Yi? Shang Yi? He's a you would love him. He's
Master
a
Shang Yi. God, I'm taking all these
yeah.
notes.
He's a Buddhist monk from um, the Shaolin Temple over in Germany. And one thing he always says about talked about like finding a therapy and sticking with it, kind of like in the beginning. He says that too. He goes, find a practice and stay with it. You can't keep bouncing around because everybody has different paths, and
Hmm.
you'll get confused,
Yes, I like that. That's really
right?
that's
Find a thing and stick with it for a year and see if it helps you. If it doesn't, like you can't just keep starting over again and starting over again because you're not getting down the path.
is it really starting over again though, switching
Not really.
modalities?
I don't think so.
I think there may be a little bit of a
But there's
starting
the learning,
distance.
there's the learning through those attachments or the release of attachments.
Mm.
And like someone keeping the same teacher, they watch you go, now you're attached to that. That came from this,
Oh, damn. Okay. So I don't know a whole
right?
lot about attachment. So it sounds like from what you just said, and I'm thinking about, I can see this in myself. It's like, so my pattern is trying to figure it out and fix it. It keeps me in the pattern instead of just being with it. And if I am constantly attaching to another it, then
Yes, there's
that
always
keeps.
another ego.
So attachment is almost sounds like it's letting go and trusting self.
Yeah, you have to let go because
Yeah.
there's nothing to hold on to. We think there's something to hold on to, but there's nothing to hold on to.
Mhm. And that takes me back to our writing the letter to the younger self. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
to hold on to.
One of my favorite ones I heard, it's like a parable, and it's two monks walking through the forest, a older monk and a younger monk. And they come up to a creek, and there's a woman there trying to get across the creek. And monks aren't allowed to engage with women or talk to them or touch them or anything like that.
Mm.
Okay. And so the younger monk sees the woman, crosses the creek, keeps walking, and waits on the other side for the older monk to get there. Well, he walks up to the creek, picks the woman up, puts her on his back, and walks across the creek and puts her down. And they both walk off. And a couple miles down the road, the younger monk gets all like just furious. He's like, "I can't believe you did that. We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to talk to women. You even picked her up and all that." Da, 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 da. He goes, "Yeah, but I put her back down. I put her back down 2 miles ago. You're the only one carrying her,
Damn, that's so good, dude.
right?
So
Like
what's the carrying? Like I'm carrying by holding on to
you're trying to
and
figure it out
resisting
still. That's the
women.
ghost. There's nothing to protect yourself from because it didn't happen. You didn't do it.
That's the chasing ghost.
Yeah, it wasn't your fault.
Damn.
You're trying to solve a thing
Blow
that
my
you
head
never
off my
did.
shoulders.
So like it's not part of you that you would do it because it's not you. It's not the way you think, it's not the way you act, it's not who I see myself being. So I would never have done that. Besides, I don't even know what the fuck I did because I didn't do anything.
Yeah, and I didn't have any other choice at the moment. I was like unconsciously unaware and
This is this is one that I share. I trigger warning it now because I've like thrown enough people off with it, even like therapists and stuff. This is essentially what all of this boils down to is like the chasing ghost thing is that a little girl playing with her dolls in a safe home is playing with her dolls. A little girl playing with her dolls in an unsafe home is listening for footsteps.
yeah.
You're not playing anymore. You're hypervigilant. You're waiting for the door to burst open and the thing to happen again that you can't prevent because you don't know what you did to do it happen the first time,
Yeah, man, that brings up a lot of memories.
right? You're waiting. You're like, am I doing the thing again? Am I doing the thing again? Am I doing the thing again? I don't know. I can't tell if I'm
So
doing the
that's
thing again.
where the protective pattern comes on. I'm gonna be perfect. I'm
Right.
gonna stay in my
If I'm
head.
just perfect enough, then it won't happen again because I don't know what I did. So if I just stay here in this semi-freeze state and be super hyper vigilant and pay attention to every little detail, then maybe I won't do the thing again. Look, it fucking happened again.
What did I do
Huh,
wrong this time?
what did I do wrong this time? I haven't figured it out from last time, and now it's another pattern, another layer, another experience. We keep trying to solve that. So all you're doing to heal trauma, I would say all, like, well, there's a lot to unpack. If I say this, because I spent a lot of time like getting it down to these little like kind of one-liners essentially, is that you're trying to create a cocoon or a space or a nest or whatever analogy you want to use,
Safe place.
where safe place, your runaway spot. I always call them runaway spots. Like adults need runaway spots too,
Hmm.
right? Not just little kids. What is it your closet? Is it, where I always tell people like do your trauma work where you go to when shit fucking life just shit on you. Like you
Oh,
just
that's
lost
somebody.
a family member. Do you go to your bed? Do you go to the couch with your blanket? Where are your creature comforts? What are your like objects that you resonate with that give
You,
you
you,
safety?
you like this one right here. Somebody was talking about working on their anger and activation, and they realized that it was flight, and so they were like encouraged to run, and so they would run in place as a practice, and they were making progress, and then it got kind of stuck again, and they asked them, "Hey, when you're doing that practice, where are you running to?" And I think this goes really good with what you're just saying is like, are you running to a safe place? And what happens when you do that? And that's kind of like the that got it for her.
Yeah, you have to go back. You have to go somewhere that you feel safe enough that nobody can see you, hear you, touch you,
Safe
affect
enough
you.
too. That's a good word to say. It doesn't have to be perfectly safe. Safe enough is going to work.
Yeah. You like maybe you don't want to be observed. That's a very next level thing. Like get comfortable just being free, being yourself in private. I've had people tell me working with the blocks and stuff when I give them homework to do, and I ask them if they did it, and they're like, no, 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 no. And I know they live by themselves. And they'll tell me, I'm afraid what I would look like if somebody saw me.
Oh man, I used to be afraid that my neighbors would hear me doing anger work and then I would upset them or yeah,
That's
that
your ego. That's your self-preservation. That's your safety. That's saying like, oh, if I sound crazy. Or prediction error, right? And another sense of prediction error is that from a different perspective, if you learn how to play the violin at 5 and you make all kinds of squeaky weird noises and you don't fucking care because that's just the sound the violin makes right now until I figure out how to play it. But if I learn how to play at 50, now you're worried about the neighbors hearing and you're worried about like, oh Jesus, like I don't want to play because like it sounds fucking terrible.
hmm
That's prediction error. You've had enough things happen, enough layers, enough experiences, whatever, bad or good or indifferent or whatever, that this sensation of being embarrassed. Toxic shame creates a nervous system that is wired for humiliation. So you feel like everything that you do, possibly in the slightest little bit of wrong, is going to humiliate you again.
So if you're someone who's got a lot of prediction errors and you've done this work and you're starting to see, oh, I'm anticipating this big scary thing, and that is a prediction error, how can I use that as a tool? Because it sounds like you're doing that.
That's what we're doing. That's what the cube is doing. Or that's what you can do in the virtual sessions. You can do it for yourself at home. Like
So
teach all
here's
different.
here's my example of the cube that I can share personally, and then maybe let's go into like what is the cube and what's going on because I remember when I did it more recently, the most recent time, and I was playing, and then I just kind of stopped. I just like froze, and it's like I didn't know what to do. Actually, now that makes even more sense. Um, and it was basically like, hey, you're playing. You're allowed to play. There's no rules. But I was so afraid that I had done something wrong. I wasn't doing it right. And it's like there are no rules. There is nothing to do. And so instead of me going in and shaming myself, it's like, oh, that's the new realization. There is no rules. Nobody's judging me. I'm judging me, but nobody else is here. So that pathway in the brain that says be humiliated, you're bad, I did something, I'm wrong, I did something bad, you can feel that and you can hold the new learning and you're almost like, oh yeah, this makes more sense.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
that
just giving
that
you're
path,
giving your own self insight
yeah. So
because
what
now
is
you're
the
you're
cube, man? What is this thing that you've created that is helping people see their predictive errors and heal their trauma?
so
And
that
it's the
it's all
most effective technology available because this stuff is wild, and I don't think people even understand. I don't even understand how wild this thing, but it feels like psychedelic too.
yeah, and that's what I've had so many people that do therapy with psilocybin for people after they got out of there say like it feels just the same as after a psychedelic experience.
Because there's a difficult something difficult's going to come up. That's just trauma work,
Right.
and you work through it. And on the other side, it's amazing.
But the bonus of the cube is that you're still hitting the default mode network without being high,
Yeah,
right? That's why it's so healing so fast because you're still blowing the whole system wide open. But this time you're sober, and this time you actually get to like embody and understand and watch and experience the change.
yeah.
And now you can hold on to it. You can take that lesson and go learn with it for the next couple of weeks because it's so like real.
hmm
It's not some weird dream vision thing
But
that
you're grasping to try to remember. It's there.
right.
You're in
You're
it.
in it, man. You're just doing it. Um, so the I was trying to figure out because I just did a live demo with somebody, she's a 10-year psychotherapist, and it's with this ADHD coaching company, and he goes to ask her about like her experience, and she was completely speechless. I couldn't even describe her experience in there, and I didn't even use the cube. I did it virtually. This is like a session I did with her virtually, and she was like, it's so different because all the wording I use is based on applied neuroscience, not therapy.
Hmm.
And when I was talking to Chad about the other day about, what she had said with that, it was like, well, the idea of that prediction error, right, is we're so used to therapy having all the same jargon, always pointing out who you are, what you are, your identity, a diagnosis, something, right?
Hmm.
So it's more triggering because you've already had shitty therapists that are now just diagnosing you again or saying there's something wrong with you again, right? Now it's triggering again, and now it's not healing, you're just triggering. Where the cube uses applied neuroscience, and it's just at point A to point B logistics, like solve the puzzle. It doesn't matter how you solve the puzzle, just solve the puzzle, okay? But in that action, in that movement, that prediction's being rewired because you're realizing it from a point of discovery, not a point of healing.
Hmm. Because you're playing.
You're playing. So you get to play with safe surprises.
Yeah.
Okay? It's the safe surprise of going, oh, that's not how I normally would have done that.
Oh, that's
Or,
not
oh,
as
that's
scary as I thought it was.
right. But you're still feeling it initially, and then you're going into it and like, oh, that was nothing. Why was I so worried about that? That wasn't nothing at all.
Is it
And then it
multiple of
updates it
these
because you're
things
updating the sensory experience that way.
Is it multiple of those type of repairs happening in one session? Because it doesn't feel like it's just one.
Yeah, because that's I call it pulling the silver thread, and that's
Right.
kind of going like the letters kind of do that, where you're tying back together something from far back. So I always tell everybody is if you're trying to solve a habit or a behavior or stop smoking or you have an addiction problem or you have whatever, okay, like this thing that just fucking haunts you and you can't, no matter what you've tried, no matter how many books you read or like things you listened to or whatever, you can't solve it. Why? Well, it's coming from a driver from childhood or from a traumatic experience. There's a driver driving that prediction. Okay, so the thing of it this way is like my body senses my reality first, initially, right off the bat. We're looking, we're listening, we're feeling, we're sensing, we're checking the vibe. Do I feel comfortable? Is there something off about this in here? And maybe the buzz of this light that reminds me of this terrible experience you had when you're 10. It had nothing to do with right now. It's the buzz of that light that makes you go, oh shit, I remember that sound. That fucking sound was
And
bad.
all of a sudden you're feeling anxious, activated, and you're in your head trying to understand what's
Right,
going on. Yeah.
right. Because that's the trigger. It's the sensory that's the trigger. It's not, by the time it gets us to us cognitively, we've already missed the trigger.
Hmm.
Because now you're thinking about the trigger as it's happening.
Yeah, and that's
But
where
something you
it's
sensed in that environment, something you sensed in reality was telling you the fucking tiger's back.
and then we're going to use whatever has been in our environment, or I would, to place blame on it to try to understand what do I need to avoid next.
Or you're going to use a coping mechanism like smoking or
Uh,
drinking or gambling or whatever to like cover up this thing that's being triggered.
Yeah, man. And it's like, then you learn, oh, I got to spend a little bit of time with this, and it gets a little bit more intense, and then it stops, and it took a minute and a half.
Yeah, and that's the thing is all you're doing is changing the sensory experience.
You're bringing
So
a new perception in,
what's that?
bringing a new sense of perception in.
Exactly, exactly. You're changing the physical perception of the memory you're thinking about.
Hmm.
Because I can think about this. This is the way you can do cue work on your own. And just start with it. Is to like in your office right there. If that's your kind of your spot, you can walk around and so I'll kind of take you through a session, and then people can have this one snippet of it because you can play with it and like get that feeling from it. And then the observation or working with me that's trained in what to see is what deepens that observation. Anybody that watches you play or observes you play is deeper because now your ego is still afraid of playing. Your self-preservation is saying, this person could say that I made a mistake.
And
It's the
that's
same
what you're
thing.
doing
Yeah, because
constantly.
that's
I
the
would be
thing.
like, am I doing it
It's what's
right?
happening right now with AI and the shame generations. Like all of us older people with the shame generations, we're experiencing as the internet gets faster and information is more available and faster and the phones are get more available faster and now people are gonna have meta glasses that can tell everything about your whole fucking life history when you meet them, right? Is that now you have even more of a sensation of the possibility of being wrong
Being seen.
faster
Yeah.
by more people. They can all tell me I'm wrong, right? So that's what we're experiencing. So when you're observed playing, and you're playing as being wrong, essentially, not caring about the precision of it, not caring about whether it's normal or like accepted or whatever, you're just playing. Who cares?
Yeah, if we're concerned on how we look and afraid that we're going to be punished or ridiculed for being us, we never come out of survival.
Right. So the cocoon, back when we were talking about, the cube is the cocoon. Your office right there could be your cocoon, whatever, where nobody can see me, nobody can touch me, nobody can hear me. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna make silly sound effects. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna act crazy. I'm gonna do whatever. Okay, that's my safe spot. That's me saying that I can surrender my protections, surrender my coping mechanisms, surrender all of the as much as I can possibly handle to surrender, to allow the feelings to start to come up for me to feel them and process them
In a safe space,
in
with
a safe
containment,
space.
with a
That's why I
safe
have like
person.
things like this. I have my little you know, pendant I wear in my hat and this jacket, right? They're all like things I resonate with that you know, I've had this in ayahuasca ceremonies with me and I hold on to it and I know that like this is with me and I know that this is me and like there's energy in there, right? There's that resonance and it holds me safe.
Hmm.
When I was tripping with friends, like they would like take hero doses and she goes, I would always find a rock to hold on to and to remind myself I'm real,
Hmm.
right? And like that's the same thing. What are you resonating? You're giving meaning to an object that says this object means a lot to me and it's safe. It's providing me comfort and safety, like creature comforts.
I tend to come out of psychedelic experiences with a passenger, something that I found, a rock. It's usually like a rock,
Yeah.
something in the woods, and I'm like, man, this is. And whatever it is, I don't necessarily remember it, but I take it with me because it's like a little piece from that experience that I
Yeah.
know that it was special. I may not be able to like feel it anymore, but I can remember what it felt like.
Right. Something about this was really important to me
Hmm.
because I grabbed it because it made me feel safe or it made
Made me feel
me
safe.
something.
I got a
Right.
question. We're having a very advanced conversation about this. Does someone need to be advanced to do this work? Do you need to build awareness and capacity to be able to meet this stuff, or can somebody, or is this like an innate thing that you can walk off the street and do a little bit
Yeah.
with the sound?
Great question because that's why it's taken me probably 20,000 hours of my life and 11 years to go like, you know, now when I explain it to people, it sounds kind of silly because it's like, oh, do this thing, and you're like, well, that sounds weird. Like, what are you talking about? I thought this was like some grand, like, awesome thing, and I was like, it is. It just took me 11 years to go, here, it's just this, right? That's why like Da Vinci's quote of simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication.
Hmm.
Like, how I got it down to this thing for you. I'm handing it to you in this little neat little jar, right? I didn't have to hand you the box or like haul the semi in or anything like that. I'm like, here's this little precious gift I can give you.
Hmm.
And because you can start with a little precious gift, and then as you start to get more control, more safe, more able to like show yourself, to be seen, to be heard, right? I can now work with another person. I can trust another person that's versed in this to like take me deeper.
Hmm.
I can start just fine on my own by literally creating that space, whatever your space is, whatever your cocoon is. Okay, everything in that space, it can't move unless you move it. inanimate objects. Okay. So those are your lateral, that's your lateral signaling. That's your, here's my environment. I am completely safe. It's just me. Nothing in here can affect me. Nothing can hear me. No, there's not phone interruptions, nothing. Like you're gonna ground out to zero. This is me. This is where I feel the safest. Okay. Then what you do from that point is you're going to go around the room and start engaging with the objects. Pick up a book and read a sentence out of it, or read the title, or like, where did I get this, like, this tchotchke or whatever? Who gave it to me? Where did it come from? Whatever, and start to engage with the objects in your space. It makes you more and more and more present, more and more like here, because now
You're
you're
orienting to your what's in your environment.
what this is real. This is what's actually real. This is what's in my space. Nobody else is here. It's just me, and here's my objects. Okay, so now you're at zero. That's where we want to get to. Even if you don't do anything past there, using that as your tool to get back to zero.
Is
Using
is
that way is
orienting to your environment.
orienting back to present, to zero, to like now, to like here's the objects. Nobody's around, nobody's home, nobody can hear me. I can scream as loud as I want, and not a soul's gonna care either way.
So I know that I'm safe because this is something my therapist asked me that I could add into this I think is helpful. It's like what's going on in your environment and what's not going on in your environment right now that lets you know that you're safe. Well, I have my things. I have my tchotchkes. I have these things that I senses. I have the walls around me. Nobody's screaming at me. The door, I can lock it if I want to. And the more we, and this is when a trigger has come up. And so now we're orienting to the environment, and that's bringing us back into the moment. And like you said, bringing on more and more safety as we work through the what do you call it? Like the predictive,
Prediction error.
yeah, prediction. So we see the prediction error of, oh, I'm not, my body is feeling like there's a tiger, but when I look around, there's actually not.
There's nothing here. The
And so
tiger
I'm
hasn't been there in
building
20 years,
safety. Yeah.
right? You're still pulling from a prediction from 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. Like it's still your body is sensing the tiger. So your body is telling your brain, so this is forward signaling. Okay, the body is now taking this sensory information and sending it north to the database. And along the way, it's going to pick high, it's going to choose weighting or hierarchy of saying this decision is extra dangerous or not so dangerous, or we can handle making a silly mistake here because it's not going to burn the house down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the more we feel it could be dangerous, the greater the hierarchy of like, am I safe?
Mm-hmm. The
Okay, so
greater the
that
risk, the greater the reward, or greater the risk, the greater the possible punishment.
exactly. You're right. The greater the risk, so the greater like the consequences and whatever could happen. I could lose my house or I could lose whatever. It could be anything. So now you're getting lateral signaling, I'm safe. Forward signaling, which is body to brain, it's saying I'm sensing this though. I'm sensing this. I'm sensing this. And the brain goes, last time we sensed that, this terrible thing happened. And that terrible thing has a hierarchy of this. Now, because of that, you need to freeze, or you need to run away, or you need to fight, or you need to like yell, or scream, or sing, or don't sing, or whatever. Like the actions coming back from the prediction of what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
So by not adding movement into your therapy to watch the prediction being acted out,
This is something I'm hearing more and more and more right now.
you're
Of
not seeing it. You're letting go. You're missing the continuation of the loop. You're not finalizing the loop.
yeah, you got to kind of move with things and allow your body to move. Because if we're just standing there like this, we're like the people at the concert, not pulling their hands up. They're conditioned to think this is the only way. Like we gotta fucking,
You know, anything you want.
you gotta be free.
Yeah.
You gotta see the matrix and the rules and the conditioning and the chains that we put on ourselves and that we continue to wear. And I think through movement and awareness and slowing down and having someone to help in a safe space and understanding like and seeing these prediction errors, like, yeah, man, this makes there's a lot of really nice, yummy ingredients in there. And it also what I felt with the cube is I almost am I don't know if this is true either. It feels like it's really quick, which is so counterintuitive to trauma work because
right?
it's slow.
Right. Because we're not, from my perspective, we're not that completion of the cycle, right? Have you ever watched somebody, a traumatized person, try to pick out a pen at the store?
No, but I
Only
imagine
out of
it's
the,
standing
right?
there.
They're like, too many decisions, too many decisions, too many decisions, meltdown, 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 because
That's
like, holy,
okay. So right there, what you just said, that's something I realized in myself recently is this fear, like I don't know, deep, I don't know what to do feeling. I don't know what I'm doing.
right?
It's
Because you're
it's
afraid to choose, you're afraid to make the decision because it could be the wrong one, because you don't know if that thing, you might have found the thing finally that caused the fucking punishment when you were 6 by picking the wrong pen out. Way to go, asshole.
oh my God, you need to go to your room.
How dare you pick a blue pen instead of a black pen?
Go to your room and wait until I get there.
Yeah,
No.
that's what you're experiencing. That's the similarity of it. It's like you're by the woman I did the demo with. The first thing I gave her, and she jumped off the high dive because she wasn't only being like doing a cube session recorded. She was doing a cube session recorded in front of 3 people she had never met before.
So she was so are you saying she was free or she was very
No, she like
strict?
I gave her the very first thing to do, and like she was on camera, right? She had her stay set up. She talked about the objects she brought with her to feel safe and all this kind of stuff. And I gave her the first thing to do. And the very first thing she did was like run off camera.
Hmm.
And I caught her. I was like, "Oh, she went off camera already." And she goes, "You saying that? Like I heard you say that." And it like fucking like blew my whole world open. She's like, "Holy shit, he I do that in real life. Like that without even me having to think about it, I run away."
Is it he saw me or
Yeah.
is that what it is?
Yeah, you're seeing them.
And
You're
she's
seeing the
like she
secret. You're
froze
seeing
because you're realizing like she did something wrong or you're calling out her behavior and she's interpreting it as wrong, right?
yeah, so you're sorry, I got lost in thought. I was debating whether to tell the story or not, and I think it's I don't think anybody else I don't think she ever told anybody else, so I'm gonna keep that one like hidden. It's a really powerful story, but
Well, there's one
uh,
story that you told me that I thought was I don't know if this is the person. If it is, skip over it. It doesn't sound like you want to go down that one. But there was a woman who was a part of an organization of a lot of people coming together.
oh, yep, let's do that one. That's a great. I had that one in my head first, so let's stay with that one because
So let's here's what I'm thinking. Let's tell this story and then let's move into how do people work with you. Let's talk about the group stuff that's
yeah,
coming.
and I want to finish saying like how to finish doing the work too.
Okay, okay. I don't
So
well,
like
don't worry about what I said then. Just keep going.
yeah, yeah. So let's I'll tell the story, and then I want to run through the entire process of actually
Okay.
doing like your own personal cube session in your house, and then eventually working with me and working with doing because I'm setting up a whole group therapy thing where you'll be like 10 of your closest friends doing cube work together, where you can either keep your camera off and your mic off, or you can just share with your mic, or you can have your camera
Well,
always
I'm
off.
thinking through this conversation, I got to get a cube. When I build my office here at the house, I think I need a cube. I think that would be an awesome tool for me to have.
Yeah. So the story was so Mary McGowan, she's the director of Attach
Oh
for
yeah,
attachment disorder. So it was kind of fitting that this all happened with her. So I met her via Zoom, via like, over email and stuff like that. And then we were at a foster care conference up in Virginia, and she was there, and we wanted to do a roundtable. And roundtables with the cube are amazing because you're basically getting 5 or 6 people in a room together, and everybody's just hanging out, chit-chatting, whatever. And then you take one person away at a time. They spend 10 or 15 minutes in the cube, and then you reintroduce them back to the room. The conversation changes immediately because you've unmasked somebody. You put a tripping person in with like the normal people,
yeah.
right? So like you have a completely like zeroed out person. So she goes first. She comes back in, and she's like, "Ah," scoffs. She's like, "That's not what I thought it was gonna be like at all. Like that, I don't think this is gonna work." I was like, whatever. She was just very disgusted by the whole thing. And then like I think 4 other people went, or 3 other people went, and then the very last person went in there. Brian takes her out, the guy with my business partner, and I'm in the room with everybody, and we're just kind of chit chatting and talking about like deep things, like very deep things. And because now we're at the end, like everybody's unmasked now, so the conversation is just like full blown, like We're gonna share our deepest, darkest secrets with complete strangers.
Hmm.
And so this woman comes back in after working with Brian, and Brian's like, Jesus Christ, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, what the hell? Like, I was like, what happened? What happened? Like, I was like, tell us the story. And he takes her over there and says, the phrase, rules, rights, wrongs, you do whatever you want. And it said, touch all the right red balls with your right hand and the blue balls with your left hand. Well, she gets out of the cube, stands about 10 or so feet back from the cube, from being inside the cube, and is looking at it. And she goes back in, she starts taking the cords off. She hangs one vertically and a couple across the floor in diagonals, one in a parabola from this hook to this hook, and like does this whole design basically, this whole sculpture. And she gets out, she goes back to where she was standing at, and she goes, all right, that looks like a right hand red, left hand blue to me. And he was like, what? Like, you haven't touched anything. You just moved all the cords around. But that was her game. She played it however she wanted to.
Oh, and
So,
that's trust and safety. And I remember the first time I did it, I was freaking obeying the rules perfectly.
oh yeah,
Left
perfectly.
hand blue, right? What do you
Yeah.
mean? I'm doing it.
So,
I'm doing it.
so Mary, after she hears this whole story, she scoffs again. She goes, ugh, that's what I wanted to do. And I was like, you could have. Like, nobody stopped you except for you. I didn't tell you, I didn't give you any rules.
She
I literally
self-limited
said you can do
herself.
anything you want. The only rule I gave you was like no rules. You made up your own rules yourself.
And that's the
You made all that.
self-preservation and the
I didn't do
prediction
shit.
error live.
What's that?
That's showing the self-preservation, your self-preservation and prediction error stuff just comes out.
Yeah. As soon as I said that, she's been a supporter of mine ever since. Like she was just like, holy shit, fuck. And then literally after that happened, in her realization, she shares this story with us about a dream she had, and she's like, this is this whole. She described the whole thing or whatever, and she goes, I've never told a single person about that in my entire life. She felt so safe in that one moment finally for being seen and healing that.
That's why it's psychedelic, dude. This is all happening because I've done it. It's all happening. You're swimming around in the unconscious. So much of therapy is you're bringing a little bit. You're using the consciousness to trigger. You're using your mind and your memory to trigger an implicit memory, right? That has certain feelings and essence. And now, if I can feel it, that pathway in the brain's open. And so I've taken a little bit of unconsciousness and I've brought it into the consciousness. And I'm kind of aware of that. With the cube, it's like, no, 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 no. You've got a magic marker on your head. And you're like, what? What? That's driving your behavior that everybody else can see. And it's like then you get the chance to see it, and that's seeing the predictive error. It's like, oh shit. It's even of
Yeah.
those you're so in it. You're so in it, you don't know you're in it.
I had a woman, I had known her, she was around since the beginning of the cube. Like I was working on her son when he was 15 and starting his master's right now. And so she did this. You remember when you did the video with me, the compilation one? We recorded everybody at the shop down in Raleigh. We did the interviews and the recording.
I kind of do. And I remember
Okay.
talking a lot about flow and
Yeah. Anyways, so she was part of that whole collab thing that we did. And so I sent her the video before I shared it. I was like, "Hey, you want to, approve this to see if, you like the way it looks." And her response was, because I don't record people doing it, I don't show themselves doing it, which I think adding that now by your own preference as a safety thing, like if you want to see yourself, I won't share them. It's your video, but I won't share it with anybody else. But she wrote back to me. She goes, "Why didn't you tell me I was doing that? I lived my whole life that way." And it was like that realization of like, holy shit, that's me.
no, no,
Like,
no,
why do I
no,
do
no, no,
that?
no.
Why do I act like that?
No, that's not you. You're buried underneath all that conditioning.
Right, right. And that's the whole thing is like, the Body Keeps a Score came out almost 20 years ago, 15
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
And it's talking about we need to mobilize trauma out of the body, but we still sit around in chairs and talk about it.
Oh,
Almost 20 years
that's
later, like, come on, guys, like, what are we waiting on? Like,
and so that's where you're saying movement has to come
that
in.
you have to move. You have to mobilize the freeze. You have
That's
to
so
like
good, Joe.
you have
That's
to
so
push
good.
through the freeze, even in like a tiny, even wiggling your finger or you're moving your tongue in your mouth. Find something that's super accessible when the freeze happens that you can move, that you choose, right? So you're frozen, like you're triggered, you're in a freeze state, okay? What is something that even when you're completely frozen that you could figure out how to do, like wiggle one little finger or
No, you
like,
know what I would say? I've learned this recently because I do a somatic practice that I do like once a day or whatever, and I meet whatever wants to come up, and a lot of times it is a freeze, and it's like a it feels it, and it's like, hey, how can you meet this differently? If you weren't calling it anxiety or freeze or fatigue, how could you meet it differently? And it's like, oh, this is heavy, this is dense, and it's like, okay, how can you not to override it? Now this is very nuanced here. Not to override and perform what you think it wants to move. How do you move with it? So and the tip is if it feels heavy and it's sitting here, it ain't moving. So how can I move with it? Well, I'm not going to get in and do all this. I'm not going to go for keeping my hands down to doing this,
right?
And so what I've learned is that's can I lay there and I'm putting support with myself and can I just let my eyeballs go a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, and then trust that whatever comes next is what is meant to be. And there may be a yawn, there may be heat, there may be tears, there may be, oh, now I really want to move. Or I just want to lay here and let my eyeballs move and give that little bit of orienting to my environment and moving out of this stuckness to just give it that little bit because we don't have to overwhelm. We really just
You
gotta
don't you don't
support.
have to kick the door in.
Yeah,
Don't kick the door in. Just knock on the door. Just find the door.
yeah. Just stand at the door.
Stand in front of the door. That's it. You're
I
good,
love it.
right? So I'm gonna go in like I'll walk. What I'm gonna do is just as I figure out how to explain it to people to do it at home, I'm gonna take you through the whole process. And as you get, I'm gonna explain it all, but I'm gonna give you kind of some caveats in the beginning. Is that don't dive into the trauma work until you're ready and you feel comfortable enough and know how the system works and how you're going to feel in the system and where your runaway spot is and like what you're going to build this, you're going to nurture your environment, you're going to build this environment. Okay, so it might not be, you might not go into the trauma work for 6 weeks. You might just be building this residence, building this like this
Safe place.
space where you're connecting with that you feel that you can ground yourself in and allow some of the stuff to bubble up, right? Like we always run away from the thing bubbling up. That's why we stay busy, right? Like hyper doership and hyper perfectionism is just you trying to cover up the feeling coming up.
Joe, I gotta tell you, as soon as you said, "Hey, we're gonna do this," I started to think, "Oh, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna be acting this out on this podcast," and I immediately started getting hot. Right? So I
Yeah,
immediately stuff is bubbling up now,
yeah,
and I immediately felt safer when you said give it 6 weeks and make sure you like your environment, make sure you have safe tools.
yeah. Figure
I
out
love
what y'all
that.
want in there. Figure out like what time of the day you're gonna do it. What like are you the happiest in the morning? Are you the most connected in the morning? Are you like it's all set and setting. You're literally creating a psychedelic experience of set and setting, right? Create that space, create that safety, create that like that nest, right? And get really granular about it, right? Change your pictures, change the tchotchkes, change whatever, and make that space like the space you go to when like shit's bad.
Think about everything, like the experience you
All
went to where they thought about everything. Like how good does that feel? Oh, I can just kind of be here.
right. Whatever bubbles up, I'm like, oh, I need to grab my teddy bear, or I need to cover up with I put my favorite hoodie on, or like, I don't know, I wear my favorite comfy socks,
I would
or
get my dogs and bring them around me because they're so good to play with.
right, anything like that. See, the only thing I would, depending on where you're at in the process, because you mentioned animals, it creates an unpredictability.
Oh, the animals do?
Yeah, because they can still respond differently than what you're expecting,
That's such a good little detail. So
right? Because
inanimate objects then?
yeah, you want to start with inanimate objects. You want to start with anything because you want to be able to ground. You want to be able to like zero out. And you having your dog there might be like, oh shit, shit again. Like,
Well,
oh
it's
shit.
funny you say that because they're so damn emotionally intelligent. And whenever I do therapy, I have to keep them away. because even if my door is closed, she'll be nudging at the door as soon as things get emotional. She knows to come comfort me. And what that does, it kind of takes me out of the process.
That exactly.
Yeah.
So you answered you explained the whole thing that I meant by that
Yeah.
right there. Um, so create that space, right? That's your cocoon. I'm here, I'm safe. I run away here when my day was shit. I need to go there for 10 minutes and just sit there and not do anything and just resonate with my environment, my objects. Become me, like self-actualize. Um, so once you've done that and you created that space and you know how that's going to feel and you know you can start dipping into it, is start going through now when you touch all the objects in your space and you're calling them what they are and explaining what they are. If you like math better, pick numbers. If you like art better, pick colors. Right now it's a tiptoe into the most comfortable area that you have. Okay, so now when you walk around your room, when you touch the object, instead of calling it what it is, you're going to call it a number one or a number 3624.27 and like whatever. You can call it whatever the first number that comes out of your head. Just respond, just instantly, just like 2, 6, 7, 9, blah, 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 all around the room. Okay, and I'll give you a little secret because this is one of the things I watched in virtual sessions. Is a lot of people will touch all the same things once, and they're like, "All right, I don't have anything else to touch." I'm like, well, I mean, you could touch that same clock 10,000 times and it still counts, right? That's a rule we give ourselves. It's like I ran out of objects to touch. I'm like, no, you didn't. You gave yourself a rule saying you can only touch each object once.
So we're constantly applying conditions to ourselves based on what we've been
What we've been
taught.
told, yeah,
Yeah.
or what you feel or whatever. Like I always say, like, and I don't want to tangent too much off of this again, but I always say like we stopped playing at some point because we believed or someone told us to stop doing the thing anymore because it's weird and and it makes me uncomfortable, and you believe them.
Yeah.
You're saying, oh, because I made you uncomfortable, I shouldn't do the thing that makes me comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because your spirit was broken a long time ago.
Right. So start with whatever you is the easiest entry point, whether it's random numbers or random colors. Okay, you go start calling things any color that you want in the whole world, or colors that you made up. But it can't be the color that it is because it has to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So you touch your mic and call it pink, but you can't call it black.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so start there, and now you can go into random numbers, random colors, random objects. Now when you touch your microphone, you have to call it a car or a Big Mac or
So you're
a plane.
challenging the predictive patterns.
Right. You're saying like, oh, this is protection. That's a black mic. I know it's a fucking black mic. It's right there in front of me. It's black. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's pink.
Yeah.
But someone that's been traumatized, the idea of calling it pink instead of black is very triggering because
How
like
dare I be wrong?
you can't be wrong because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because the footsteps might be coming. I might have missed the footstep.
And that means
Horrible things,
horrible. Yeah.
right? So we don't want to miss the mistakes. So we're very locked into that. So you like I would start with random numbers, random colors, random objects, um, sound effects. The sound effects could be everybody thinks they can't make a sound effect, but like you can make you can call it the sound a cat makes. You can call it meow, or you can go meow, right? Like whatever. It's like it doesn't matter. We're still locking you down, going,
Be
well,
silly.
I don't want to
Let
say
let
that. I don't want to
yourself
say
be
that.
silly is what I hear.
Someone might hear me. Someone might like whatever. I don't want to make the machine gun sound I made when I was a little kid or whatever. Like, there's all these different sounds we used to make that we didn't care about, and then we started caring too much. Okay, so allow yourself to play. And in those experiences of like touching and calling things randomly is playing because playing is allowing yourself to be wrong and feel safe enough to do it.
Yeah.
So now you can see if you start off with inanimate objects and you start out with just yourself and you start to build up till you're comfortable and you're like, man, 1, 2, 7 type, make all the sound effects and like now you're in there dancing around, you're doing jumping jacks, you're like spinning around in circles, you're like making fucking all the noises in the world. You don't care. But then
You,
you add a person.
you're
You have to
you're
add
like
another person to that space. Now, the
you're
next
like
person's your observer,
yeah.
right? That's the split theory. Now I'm observing you. Now you're like, oh, but now you'll know I did something wrong or weird,
Yeah.
and you're just going to tell someone I make weird noises in my office by myself, right? So now someone's going to know.
Mm.
So that first person you bring in there is someone that you trust, because that's healing the shame. That's saying that you're going to witness me, you're going to see me. That's why who you trip with matters,
Yeah.
because they're going to see you out of control. Do you feel safe enough for that person to see you out of control and not care?
Woo. And that takes a lot of safety through repetition
It's
of
a
trusting
lot,
that they're safe.
right? So that would be like that's from zero to like you by yourself into the next phase. Okay? Playing with that space, calling it what it is, like dancing, singing, sound effects, whatever. Okay? And then you bring another person in, and that's the end of that chapter. Because now you've like learned so much. Because the next chapter is starting to do the parabolas. Okay? And that's like starting at the top, going, here's where I am. I've grounded myself. I've played for a little bit. I'm like to the point where I would bring somebody else in. And now, this is something you and I did in that last cube session. Now go around the room and start calling the objects that you pick up and touch. Objects that you remember in the space you were traumatized in.
Woo. And let me ask you this. Do you have to remember?
No, you don't have to remember anything about it.
Yeah,
You
that's
just
what
have
I
to
thought.
remember the objects that were in there that to map the brain back to that.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, do you have to have a particular event that you remember?
No, because here's what happens is that each time you do some work, you'll be able to understand this when I say it because each time you do more work, you get stronger.
Mhm.
The stronger you get, the deeper you can go.
Yeah, you have more capacity to
More
see
capacity,
with
right? So you're
unconsciously.
building capacity each time you do it. So each time you do it, you might remember more. Or what ends up happening, I call these aha moments, where you resolve 50 years of something all in one shot because it all attached to one driver,
Golden thread.
golden thread. Because so the woman I had, she's 81 years old. She came in, she always saw me working on the cube, and I was like, hey, we're doing a compilation video with elderly people in the cube. Do you want to do it? She said, I would love to. Like, it'd be awesome, whatever. So she comes in, and we start doing Ryan's recording, and I give her like the saying and whatever, and she starts touching five or six things, and she freezes, and she's like, I thought this was supposed to be fun. I'm not having any fun at all. And I was like, okay, well, do you
Yeah.
want some feedback? And I was just like, yeah. So Ryan pauses the recording, and I was like, well, it looks like you're afraid of being wrong, and like, kind of like picked it apart a little bit and gave her some guidance or whatever. And I was like, did your heart stop when your dad's car door closed? And she all of a sudden just welled up in tears and just started tears rolling down her eyes. And I was like, how old's the person crying right now? She said 7. And we talked about it a little bit. We finished playing the game for 20 minutes and she leaves and she gets a hold of me like the next week. She's like, I need to talk to you about what happened. And I was like, okay. And I was like, did you have an aha moment? She goes, I did. This is 20 minutes, something that's been going on for 73 years of her life. Okay. And I was like, what was it? She goes, I was getting my hair done. And she goes, the massage chairs that have the roller balls going up and down your back? And she goes, my chair broke. And she goes, my entire life, I would have sat in that chair with that ball sticking me in the ribs, uncomfortable for like my entire life because I wasn't allowed to be a burden. I wasn't allowed to have needs or like need anything. So I would just suffer through it. And she goes, I stood up and I was like, my chair's broke. I need a new chair. And it like stunned her. It like fucking blew her mind apart.
Hold on.
Because like,
Slow the last part down. So
okay.
she stood up and broke her chair. I don't
No,
understand.
her chair was broke. She had a ball, one of the roller balls from the massage chair.
Yeah.
The massage chair stopped working. And one of them happened to stop and it was like kind of poking her in the ribs, so it was really uncomfortable. And she said her whole life she would have sat there for that rest of that hour with that chair broke and never said anything to anybody because she wasn't allowed to.
Right.
She didn't have needs. She wasn't allowed to be a burden, right? And in that moment, she just jumped out of her seat and she was like, "I need a new chair. My chair's broke."
Oh, that's
And she
awesome.
was like, it stunned her. It like completely like blew her mind apart. She was like, I
So
spent
that's
25,
and what you're describing there is completion. That's what needed to happen the whole
yeah.
time.
She
That's
goes,
what,
I spent 25 years in talk therapy trying to make that thing go away. And you spent 20 minutes with me and made it all go away.
yeah.
And that's the aha moment. That's like, we don't need all of that work. But think of how many layers of trauma, how many layers of complex trauma came from 7 years old to 81 years old
Yeah, it
that you've
almost
layered
makes,
upon, that you've layered upon all of these experiences to now. So that if you pull one thread, they all just fall apart because they didn't mean anything. They didn't mean what you thought they meant to begin with.
yeah, because they were all dependent on that thread to keep them holding and up. And when you pull that, it just all collapses.
It all collapses. It wasn't there to begin with. It's all fake.
And it almost makes talk therapy feel like mental masturbation or something, like a
Well, because
performative.
like in talk therapy, you're re-describing your trauma, so you're re-embedding the trauma deeper into your psyche because you're having
Yeah,
to relive it by telling a story again.
I
And with me, I'm just
understand
asking you to
telling
remember
it.
the object. I'm just asking you to remember the objects. Like, can you
Yeah.
remember the objects in the room? Like,
Well,
we don't
that's
tell anything
what you're
about it.
doing is you're using an implicit memory. You're using an implicit memory. You've got certain characteristics of how what happened on that day and and as soon as the door opens and you feel something from that, now you're in it. So I can understand talk therapy being like, tell us over and over again, but they're missing the part of, okay, now you're feeling it. Now let's work with the body. Not like, let's keep doing this.
Right.
It's like we're going to sensitize ourselves to this feeling. That's dumb as shit. But the only thing that's useful, I feel like, is opening up is creating the trigger. But if we don't know, if we're overwhelmed by the trigger, we don't know how to be with the trigger, we have no capacity for that. We're going to continue to shut down and go back into
But
our
even
normal
worse, because
stuff
now you like now you're re-traumatized the thing again.
and reinforcing it.
Right. So this way you're actually getting rid of it. You're like you're parting with it. It's
You're
not part of your
completing
nervous
it.
it's not part of your nervous system anymore.
And tell that, like, I feel like it's people that are listening to this, like, it doesn't mean you're wiping your memory. The memory is there, the charge isn't there.
So I would say this way about that. Because EMDR is similar to that, where the memory stays, but the body changes it, right?
Yeah.
You don't keep experience. The body doesn't keep experiencing it. So think of you're going down into your proverbial basement. And you're grabbing the box of the thing that happened, right? And it's like this terrible box. That's the door, right? Like I'm holding this box now. I picked up the box. Okay, I'm gonna open the box up. And in the box is all this shit. It's terrible. It's ugly. It's like everything you possibly remember that it was gonna be. And you go in the box and you organize it and you put some colorful flowers in there and some glitter and some like a brand new colored page that you colored while you were playing and all that, and you close the box back up and you put it away. All you did was change the physical of the box. You didn't change the memory of the box. The box still exists. I can't make the memory of the box go away because the memory is there forever. We don't want it to go away because we do the thing again.
Hmm.
So we want our brain to remember to predict it and to prevent it and to watch out for us and protect us. But our body doesn't have to keep thinking the tiger's back there, even when the tiger's been gone for 20 years. I mean, that tiger's been buried in the cemetery for like, most of your life.
And those are the ghosts that are the
Yeah, the chasing the ghost, like
chasing the ghost. Yeah.
chasing the solution that doesn't exist.
Couldn't read my own handwriting.
We just keep going in circles, going in circles, going in circles, and we're like driving ourselves completely fucking nuts.
Oh, that's what it feels like, chasing your own tail.
Yeah, I call it staying on the same merry-go-round. It's like the same song just keeps playing over and over again. You're so fucking tired of that song, and you're just like, God damn it, like make it stop. And we can just make it stop. We have to stop thinking about it. So you're just changing the thought process you have around that box.
Yeah,
The
and
cool thing
this,
about once you open that, this is the cool thing about using play and using the implicit memory and like that essentially the set and setting that psychedelic experience is that you're once you open the trauma loop, right? You're in there, you're like you opened your cocoon, you're safe in your cocoon, you bring up a memory, right? You start identifying the objects to this like trauma that you experienced. Okay, but you're safe. Nobody can hurt you. Nobody can see you, or you're gonna experience whatever you're gonna experience. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna suck. Whatever. But that's why you go slow. Okay. Um, So once it's open and once you're experiencing it, you want to do something playful. You want to do something that you choose to do. Color on a page, play an instrument, maybe play some guitar or whatever you find that you're choosing to do that's playful. Okay? Because play and trauma are opposing of each other.
Hmm.
Okay? So when you're playing while the loop is open, the brain only remembers the playful sensory experience when it closes and forgets the physical trauma experience that you had. It erases it. It's gone. It only remembers the new memory, the physical memory of the memory. So now when you close it, your body is like, whew, okay, well that's fucking gone. Good.
Yeah,
I
you're
still
re-engaging.
remember it, and that sucked, but like it doesn't have to live inside my body anymore.
That's awesome. I love it.
But you just have to take your time and work it, and just like, yes, you can start no matter if you know zero about any of this, and just like ground yourself, and then like do the number game, do the color game, and stop there. Maybe just do the number game to get really comfortable with the number game.
I like that. I think breaking it up into little pieces, like let's establish a safe place. Now let's get your safe things. Now let's play by ourselves. Now let's introduce someone. Let's work through that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, because you want that person that there was the thing that happened when I was younger, and like we all joke around about it, like these things that happen to us when we're kids or whatever, and like I turned out fine, right? But we didn't realize how traumatizing they really were. And like one of them we had when I was younger at my grandma's house with my aunt and uncles and older cousins were pity parties. And you would be upset crying about something and they'd all stand around you and count back from three, three, two, one, oh, and make fun of you for crying. Well, in that moment of a small child, you're looking around and like you want to run to mom, but mom's in on it and grandma's in on it and your Uncle Dick's in on it and all these people are in on it and you're like, the people that you would run to because you're terrified of the bully are all part of the bullies.
God damn, that makes me so mad too.
Right? So like it was just like playful, silly, fun thing we did back in the 80s, but like really what it was is emotional abandonment.
Because typically your emotions were too big and not allowed for the adults because they haven't worked through their stuff. So by you being a kid and being playful, they're like, stop doing that, quit being a kid and get in line. Be an
Yep.
adult like the rest of us. And
Right.
then we can accept you. And
Yeah.
so now my sense of self is buried deep underneath and this work is a way of unwinding the onion, peeling back the onion to get back to authenticity, to get back to that beautiful kid that just wanted to have fun.
Yeah. Just play. Like I was having a moment. Like sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your night by like I don't know being sad
I
about
don't know. I'm 4 years old. Jesus Christ! Like,
Bree got me that with Jupiter because I caught myself there's a saying I read or phrase I read I don't know a few months ago and it kept like surfacing in my life where I was like fuck like I gotta figure this shit out was face your demons or they will raise your children,
oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, I love that quote.
and it's like
Oh,
that's what you're doing is that you're reacting and responding. She's like why would you let a 2-year old get under your skin that bad? She's 2.
because I
Right?
haven't dealt with my
She's a
shit.
baby. Like, why are you letting a baby get under your skin that bad?
Well, and thank you for that because that's showing me where I can improve.
Right? Like, they're a kid. Like, they didn't do anything wrong. Like, why are you letting them fucking trigger you?
That's
There's a can't remember if it's a specific tribe or whatever, but they always they have the babies hang out with the elderly more often than the parents because they're both closest to God, right? Both of them have no ego basically. The
mm,
baby hasn't developed an ego yet, and the older person's supposed to be getting rid of theirs by now.
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. That's why, like Carl Jung always said, like, the first half of your life is you developing a healthy ego, and the second half of your life is getting rid of it.
Yeah. So I imagine people are listening to this and they're like, where the hell do I get some of this cube? So tell us what are you, what, how can people find you and work with you? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a couple different ways right now that I've put a whole virtual program together now finally, because now I've been like, I'm out of my own way for one, but then now I want to share, and now I've worked with you know trauma therapists and psychotherapists and all these people. And they're like, the online stuff works, the virtual stuff is like just as powerful. I think the cube is even more powerful because it's real and it's like tangible and like you're interacting with it. But this opens up the space where a lot of people can work with me without me having to come to me or anything like that, which was always kind of the problem with it. It was like limiting the market. So the online stuff I do, I'm doing a member area which has a lot of resources of just like what I have used, things like that, like private resources, private videos, things like that. And then I'm doing drop-ins. We're going to start doing every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I'm going to do a 90-minute cube session, virtual cube session, group 20 people in a group at a time. That way it's not too big, it's not too small. You come in there, you sign in, and you can keep your camera and your mic off and just listen. You can introduce yourself and go quiet. You can like it's called seen and heard. So you're literally exposing yourself to whatever level you're willing to or wanting to expose yourself at. So in that group healing, you're just hearing other people's stories and you're holding space for them.
Mhm.
And through that process of sharing, we get to lighten up our load because now we've shared it with these people and they've heard it, and we're not like holding on to this secret. Okay, so you can do it that way, and that's gonna be every week at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. And then I also do private sessions. Do a 60-minute private session with me via Zoom. And then I'm doing smaller ones, which are 6-week intensive, and there are 10 people in a group, and it gets deeper because now we're gonna get to know each other better. We're gonna like share in front of each other. You're ready to like be more observed, more seen. Okay. What I'm doing for the holidays, and I'm gonna add more of them based on necessity and demand, because I have time to do them to add more spaces. But I'm doing stuff for the holidays where it's focused on surviving relationships, surviving families, for surviving the shit that's about to come down because we have to go see all these people that triggered the shit out of us our whole life
Yeah.
and act happy and act like we want to be there and like we're so happy to see them and we're like fuck, I could like go the rest of my life without even mentioning your name.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go there
You
and I'm
have
gonna
to?
smile and I'm gonna pretend that I like to see you and I'm like so happy to see you again.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna do a 6 week intensive focus strictly on holidays. So I have one planned right now. I don't have the start date yet. Do you know when you're gonna? A couple weeks, do you think? To get
When
this?
release this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 3, 4 weeks.
Okay. So we'll probably
If, you,
miss.
if
I'll
we
probably
need
miss.
to, if we need to dump it before that, just let me know.
Okay. Well, sooner the better. That way we can. I mean, not to rush you, but like that way we can get because I want to be able to get people to hear about the holiday one.
I
That's
can get you in. I've got 2 or 3 that can wait. I have one that I've got to put out late November. I can put you up next.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to do that, because then we can like I can get people in if they want to join the holiday one. I
So
think it's
call
going
it in
really.
the next 7 to 10 days then.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That gives me an idea when to like start the first one, so it gives people enough time to like think about it or like be able to sign up, and I can
Yeah.
always add more based on demand.
Yeah.
So there's a few different ways, a few different price points. The membership area is $19 a month. You can just like access all of my resources, my videos, and all of that. Monetize it a little bit. Um, Drop-ins are $49 for like a 90-minute cube session, virtual cube session, but it's group, so there's 20 people with you.
But
One-on-one for two.
there's a lot of powerful things that can happen in a group.
Oh yeah, totally. So yeah, the one-on-ones with me are 249 for the hour. Um, And then the 6 weeks intensive, like the small ones, are 299. So there's a lot of price range there for, I don't have a lot of money, but I want to like start my journey. Or I want to like, see what it's like for one week and see what the 90-minute thing's all about.
Yeah.
I do have a group
I'd
chat.
say, pop into the community, $19 a month, soak that up like a sponge. When you
Yep.
start to crave more, go into the big group. when you feel,
Exactly.
and if that may be enough for people, and if they feel like they
Well,
want
it might
more,
be, you might stay there for a while.
that's what I'm saying. You're building
Yeah.
capacity while you're building your nest.
Yeah. So the I do have a chat room that I have added onto the into the member area. But the rule about the chat room is that you have to have attended a live session. You have to know what the cube is all about deeply, like embodied wise. Like what am I going to experience before I'm allowed to chat with other people that have already experienced it?
Yeah.
So that way you're like, people aren't spouting off or trying to correct you or whatever. Like, no, like this is the experience I had, and everybody respects that sovereignty in
Yeah,
that chat.
that's
So,
that's super smart.
right. So if you've had a drop in or you've had a one-on-one or you've been part of one of the groups or whatever, like you can access the chat room. But if you've never actually physically experienced the cube in person or the cube virtually, that you won't be in that chat room.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
a lot of different access points, a lot of different, work you can do with me or just through like the videos and all of that. So,
Where do we? How do we get in touch with you?
okay. So my website right now is movetherapy.org.
And we're gonna put this stuff in the show notes as well.
Yep. So you just my email is joe@movetherapy.org. So that's on the website too. So you can access it either way. Join the mailing list. I'm going to start getting some good information out there. We got tons of great um, teachers that I've followed throughout the years that I felt um, put a different perspective on everything, a less clinical perspective of it, maybe more spiritual, maybe less spiritual, maybe like
A little bit of both.
Robert Sapolsky's talk he does on free will essentially, and in his book Behave, and how like we're not. People ask the question of like, what was he thinking when he did that? He was like, yeah, but what was he thinking a week before that, and a month before that, and a year before that, and 5 years before that, and 10 years before that led him up to that one moment that he decided to act and do the bad thing.
I like that. I'm going to
So
write down that book.
yeah, I haven't read the whole book. My friend Lindsay read it and absolutely loved it. She said it's really really well done.
Hmm.
I'll send you the Sapolsky talk you can listen to.
Yeah, yeah, do that. I want to
He's
check it.
Sapolsky, just to clarify there, but he's a Stanford professor. He's a neuroendocrinologist.
Hmm.
So he's been studying the genome for 20 some years. But according to Sapolsky, we don't have a single stitch of free will.
We don't have a
No, absolutely no free will whatsoever. He goes, it's all stimuli. We're all just acting out the stimuli of the whatever the Earth peoples, right? And like, if you,
well, is that kind of in line with the simulation kind of theory?
uh,
Because here's something
kind of
I've been
maybe not,
noticing.
because
This is a
like,
whole nother conversation,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Um,
things are becoming too apparent. It feels like a simulation.
yeah, well, I mean, I think for me, like, I've been working on the exact same thing for 36 years. So after a while, you start to like, am I actually doing this or am I not doing this? Is it really me or not me? Or like, is it,
It's been so. I mean, I haven't been doing it with you for 36 years, but I've watched you over.
11 or I don't know what, 8,
Not, is it that
7?
much? Is it that
Yeah.
much?
Since before the pandemic. It was right. Was it during the pandemic?
Probably 2017, 2018 is when we
Yeah.
got hooked up. So you're right. Damn. Yeah, it's been a freaking blast to be your friend, to get to have these deep conversations. You're the type of person that is so good at what they do that I do not know how to describe it. Um, we're speaking more of the same language now these days, but we still come at it from different angles. And but I think together, the conversation. This has been an awesome conversation. Always is. I've got freaking 3 pages of notes, and we've been kicking it for 2.5 hours. So I know
Oh
people are
wow. Yeah. I actually have to leave for work like right now.
Oh, you're good. I'm wrapping it up, baby.
Okay. Cool, man.
Anything you want to say before you pop off? How about
Um, the one thing I always tell everybody when they're getting ready to start trauma work or this work that I'm talking about or anything like that is give yourself a lot of grace and be kind to yourself
that? Yeah.
because there's no reason you've already been beat up once for it. There's no reason to beat yourself up over it again.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the easiest thing I can say. It's just like just be gentle, right? Knock on the door, peek in the door, like a little kid. Like, is it safe now? Can I come out? Right? Are all the bad people gone? Like,
Mhm.
Give
And
yourself
you'll
some
learn
time to
that.
like,
You'll learn that grace, that compassion, that empathy for yourself specifically. A lot of times you're doing it to other people all the time, and we get to turn around and do it to ourselves, and that's a journey, but it's good to definitely good to mention that at the beginning. I love that.
yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing I tell you is just like, don't keep kicking yourself. There's no reason. Like it wasn't you, it wasn't your fault. You didn't do it. There's nothing you're gonna figure out because like what you didn't cause the thing to happen. So the sooner you can like forgive yourself and let that go and realize it wasn't you, the quicker it happens.
Forgive yourself and let go, man.
Yep.
Sounds simple.
I know. So simple.
Well, it's good that we got resources like the Cube and you and um, yeah, man, excited for people to reach out and check it out. And we'll be in there doing the Cube thing with you, hopefully here pretty soon.
Awesome, man. Sounds good.
Thank you so much for coming on, brother. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll do it
We'll
again
do it
soon.
again soon.
All right.
Peace.